Alright. Let's move my mug out of the way. Far out. People are going on bloody hype. Look at the fucking chat. Far out.
Good evening.
Hey man. Like if you go to the Twitch page, they haven't even started like um cranking away and just people are going Burko.
Yeah, it's gonna break another record probably.
I reckon this will be going way bigger than last Epoch's release numbers. And they got to like 250K or something like that.
Oh yeah, I think we'll break 300K.
Yeah. All right. It could even be higher this time. Technically, like if you look at it, this is like the last league that they're gonna last like non PoE2 Sullied league they're gonna be doing.
Yeah, I just hope it's a big one.
Yeah, same here. Not a nerf league either.
Yeah.
Should show me a live panel. There it is. Yeah, I reckon, Bill. Melee fixes. We need melee fixes. Hey, Void. Yeah, man. Only reason I get up at 5 a.m. in the morning to do something. Twitter page. Just gonna double check and make sure that I've got drops on.
For the sake of everyone, I'm guessing we're all gonna either deafen or something for the big start. I mean, the reveal.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't want anyone speaking over Chris.
There'll be no talking over my boy.
My brother in bold.
You say in bald?
Hell yeah. Alright, drops are definitely on.
Is your stream up? Or are you on the PoE stream?
My stream's on. I've got it multicasting.
You make a bingo card?
Bingo card. Man, I'm not that prepped. I'm not that prepped. Hey, Crude. Hey, Nutu. Hey, Doc. No worries, man. I got plenty more coming. Yeah, I'm gonna need my left click skills back as well. The comments are already so wild. I watched the campfire yesterday. Like I tried to grit my teeth through the Diablo 4 campfire. It's just painful to like everybody just hates that game. It's like hate comments.
What's D4? I only know D for bad.
Yeah, exactly. D4 bad.
Never played the game, didn't have to.
Like
Pretty bad.
they announce like one thing and it's like LL. If you're the devs watching that stream, your spirit must be so broken. Yeah, Bill, it's just their announcements were just so bad. Like they're adding in what was it well the crafting system they're essentially adding in is the same as last epoch's crafting system or ROG crafting, and they think like it's innovative at this stage. Thanks for follow, Holes.
Innovative.
Oh, there's something else, eh? It's like we're gonna add 2 new weapons for each class. Like, it's like, thank you. Yeah, you could see the dev spirit just breaking while they're on in the middle of stream. They're already at 11.1 thousand on the PoE Twitch, and that's just people directly watching the Twitch, and they haven't even kicked on the stream yet.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are. There's 46K viewers in total.
It's pretty wild.
All of PoE, yeah.
Already, and it's only like 9. Well, we still got 50 minutes left before they even start anything.
Yeah, I mean it's not Dota 2 international numbers, but still
Yeah, exactly.
pretty good numbers.
Just under 50K crude already. Yeah, that.
I will say though, left click was like a game changer for me because like this last league was my first league. And
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to use like phase run. And I was like, dude, like I just forget to use the ability. And the guy's like, just put it on left click. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you can just put it on left click and then you move with left click. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I don't need.
It's game changing.
Yeah.
There's so many things that yeah you can append to it. But the biggest one that they haven't, well, hopefully we get some answers on is focus, because like half the builds I put out use stinking focus gear. So without that, like, is that going to work if you socket a gem inside of it and then you put all your other auto trigger skills in it, or are they going to allow that? Hey, Demeanor. I think it's the from what I can see here, it's the suffering back attachment. So it's like arms going out of the back attachment or whatever. I actually watched that. I watched my own video back last night because I was like, oh, I'll pull every single league trailer into one video. And like going back, it's just bizarre from where it all started.
Yeah.
Like seeing it at 1.0, and I remember 1.0. And like I remember when like I remember when they announced like the 10 acts and all the rest of it. Like it's just wild where it is now. Yeah, Relic should be interesting, Koala. I don't think they'll touch it.
I'd imagine Rolakash boots getting like upped in a tier.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was thinking.
Aren't they like tier 1, make it tier 0 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they might get bumped up a tier.
Yeah, a little bit harder to acquire, a little bit more cost.
Opium, surely they will just downgrade it here.
I don't think they're gonna nerf it or anything like that, because I already touched it last league, but they're just really friggin' good boots.
Yeah, like they're not like super build enabling like a Mage Blood, but
Mm.
they're like still pretty good, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So like
Power charge stackers, they've been kind of insane this last league. It's been kind of fun.
Well, Badge of Brotherhood builds like instant max out of Frenzy and power charges. Like, it's super powerful.
Now after this, I need to decide: do I play in Steel Mages? Do I play in Steel Mages private league, or do I play in a different private league?
Just play Trade League. Go out on a big bang.
No, I don't want to get bored in 3 days.
this last league was interesting because I just was in Delve the entire time.
That's all I did
Pop
to
up, sell my stuff, go back down.
just gobbling your way down and delve. I'm super keen with the decoupling and the master missions for this league that they've shown so far. Countdown. What do we got? Path of Exile website. Oh, Path of Exile website's down for maintenance. The count
Refresh.
should be.
Refresh the stream you're watching.
Oh,
There's a countdown.
they have got a countdown. All right, I'll refresh it.
It's been up since 30 minutes ago.
There we go.
Yep, we got it.
So does that mean you can select for the masters? I assume that's gonna be like, you know how normally you can just click one button and you get one master? Do you think you're gonna be able to click like all four?
I don't think.
Four of them appear on the map, or?
I don't think. I don't know how they're going to change that. Whether or not they even have that system, or they have it where you could select like from all mechanics in the pool, because the way that they're articulating it is that they're just changing it so that they work the same as any other league mechanic. So they may leave it as it is because they might just be like cornerstone mechanics, or they could just add more buttons in, which will go like, you could run and accumulate blight missions, for example, or something like that. But like, who knows what they're going to do at this stage, because they've got like that many changes that are coming into the game. Like, it's basically a whole new game from some of the updates that are coming through. Like, there's no point doing a daily video because some of the changes are just so aberrant. Like, it's just your wildest guesses of what they're going to do. But this GGG live thing is like, even going through all the videos last night, it's just over the probably the last 2 years, they significantly changed the way that they were doing these league launches, and now like they're really solidifying into being almost a AAA company sort of approach to game or expansion launches now. So they've definitely developed.
I think they've definitely nailed the live service.
Oh yeah.
Model, 100%. Like the frequency of their content is very good, and compared to like games like Destiny 2, right? 'Cause I play a lot of Destiny 2, and like there's
Yeah.
a lot of content.
Well,
in between.
isn't there a they've got an announcement for Destiny 2's, like, whatever it is, of light, I think in the next few days or something like that. I think I saw that on Twitter last night.
Let me go to the.
I gotta be right back. Gotta drop the kids at the pool.
No worries, Uber.
I think it's This Week in Destiny is what it's called.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, look, Destiny sort of gets there, but I don't think any game's done live service properly until PoE actually came into the mix. Like, they've actually consistently kept up their side of the bargain for years on years at this point, which nobody else has really done. Not to the same level of success, I guess, and consistency.
Oh, okay. So they got their new season coming out
Mm.
April 6th. So, well, it's funny because their new expansion, I know we're talking about a different game, but their new expansion was supposed to come out in February, and they had all the seasons planned, so now they're like slowly releasing the expansion content in these seasons instead of in the expansion because they had to wait so long. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff you saw in like the expansion trailer, like the skimmers or like the weapons and stuff, they're like giving it to us now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like kind of awkward.
Yeah, that's what I feel like with this game. They haven't sort of let drop. That all they've done is extended out the leagues a little longer than they originally used to. But I don't know, something feels different about it now. It doesn't feel the same. It feels like it's gotten a lot bigger, but it's good though. Like, yeah. And the other thing is like watching back like the original interviews on like PoE 1 when like they first did uh like interviews around the mapping system and stuff like that. It's interesting because we're going to go through that whole entire journey all over again with the second game that's coming out. So I'm just super friggin' hyped. I get excited about anything, but
Speaking of the game and the cycles that it's doing, it's going to be exciting because I'm wondering if they're going to alternate like 2 months PoE 1, 2 months PoE 2, and they do it back and forth.
well, that's what that I reckon. That's what they were basically saying. I think was it last year, and when they went and announced more PoE 2 content, and they basically went like they're going to have an alternating production cycle. So it'll be exactly that. They'll like prioritize PoE 2 for the first 2 months, and then in the third month, when their player drop off hits, then they'll punch out a PoE 1 league, or maybe even halfway through or something like that, so that you'll always be playing a brand new piece of content between PoE 1 and PoE 2. And that addresses like, where you'd have a league where like, Last Epoch comes out with a new patch or something like that. So I think previously they sort of just used to go, oh yeah, new games come out, so we're just going to bend the knee and let that happen. Now I think they're just going to go and be like, oh well, at any point in time you can play new content from Path and you're never going to get bored, which, arguably I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, and I know Last Epoch also said that they wanted to weave in between PoE updates as well.
I think that,
Dev said that
yeah.
they specifically wanted to launch like halfway or like 3/4 of a way through a PoE expansion.
I think they're gonna have so many issues that works now, but that they're gonna have so many issues when PoE 2 comes out with that one.
I'm kind of curious at what GGG is going to do. If they have the 2-month cycles, I wonder how they might move around their release schedule every so often, just the tiniest bit, in order to not compete with other games.
I reckon this GGG Live is part of something bigger. I reckon they're gonna basically make it so that they're not going to be deviating around other games, and they're just going to be setting the margin and basically going, this is when we're going to be producing our whatever it is, and basically no compromise. Because I think they're in a position they can do that now.
Yeah, considering just how huge the spike in player count is, and
Oh,
when
yeah.
the league drops, and if that's happening every 2 months, good lord, good luck trying to fit in that.
Oh, it's enormous growth, like just absolutely enormous growth.
What's really good is like some of those streamers who come from come from a D4, like Rax came over, and I'm pretty sure he probably brought a big fan base with him too when he started playing during the richest league.
Oh yeah, that's it.
It's like when people start seeing the light, they're like, why did I ever play D4? And that's kind of the revelation I had too, was why did I ever play Diablo 4 when this game existed 6 years ago?
The craziest the craziest thing is like people when D4 was coming out, they're like, oh, this is going to be like, taking over PoE, and PoE is not going to be competing. And it's like, yeah, no. Like PoE 1 as it stands, like graphically, it's a bit of an aged game. Still looks amazing though. But yeah, then you got PoE 2 just looming, and like there was never going to be a real competition because D4 was already behind the 8 ball when it got announced. And even like the announcement of it, I thought it was going to be like a much longer development cycle, which arguably it probably should have been. Because
Yo,
what?
yo, yo.
Hey man,
How's it going, guys?
just getting fucking hyped.
Man, so fucking excited from yesterday. I had to sneak out of work right now. Same as last league, but
you're
My
like,
man got his priorities straight.
exactly extended bathroom break.
I am working to play PoE, not the other way around, boys. So the priorities set straight.
Yeah, Winslow, I reckon we'll be getting a heap of PoE2 information today. Because, yeah, I keep seeing the same thing, NDAs are being lifted, so I would say that we're getting info.
That is crazy. Nice.
I reckon we're going to have an
Yeah,
over...
there really is an update for Path of Exile. Huh.
Hmm.
Yeah, probably after some beta action comes out as well.
Oh, website's back up.
Oh, is it?
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, look. Oh, they didn't add any new information.
No. All right, everybody DDoS the page, start refreshing.
Yeah, just spam it until we demand satisfaction.
You know, one interesting thing I noticed was the trade website. You only get like 3 API calls in like a minute or so before it like times you out. And I thought that was very interesting.
You can bypass that.
I understand why it's there though. I was like, huh, that's actually pretty smart that they put a limit in there. You know.
You can have a few external IPs set up with VPNs, and you can bypass that, but it's gonna cost you.
No, yeah, I bet.
Still wish they'd go through the process of trying to implement a proper in-game auction house for items of regular price.
This is
They said they are, so
this might be something we see today around that, to be honest with you. Like, because they said that they've fundamentally said like they're going to do the same approach between PoE 1 and 2 in that
yeah,
respect.
they're strongly going to do it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
for sure.
That'd be funny if it was like some sort of Dropbox or something. Like you got like a Dropbox tab, and like I don't know, you like just throw it in there
I'd
and
be
you set the
perfectly
price.
fine with that, as long as I don't have to go to a Discord to find, bulk items every so often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
T190. Yeah, you should be able to get to 1,000. I don't know if you have a look in the Bone Zone channel. Mario's probably got a POB in there that doesn't use Mage Blood to get that low. Arguably, you should be able to with like Cyclopean Coil or something like that.
As promised, I delved last league. Actually played Dancing Dervish Juggernaut,
Oh really?
and I used the new chess piece, the 12 gem levels. If you use like one socket, so I put Flame Link in there, and Dancing Dervish blades. They haven't died, no matter what I did, no matter what content I did. So I take the +1 link and I link to both the Dancing Dervish, and it's basically an AFK playstyle. You just
Really?
run and you just run around the map and they kill. The only small issue is the damage. It has a cap because you're depending on Flame Link for majority of your damage, and the single target is kind of not up there.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't
But
be because you can't link.
and stuff. Yeah.
But it's a cool
But as a
concept.
league start, for league start, like 300 to 400 depth, it was pretty smooth.
That's not bad.
It gets to T16, it gets shit done. It's hardcore, more than hardcore viable, because I didn't see a point where I could die unless it was to a huge DD or something.
Yeah.
It could even tank a few bears or ice noahs from strong boxes and all that. Simple shit. Obviously, I'm not gonna boss with it, but for league start, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Because all you need is a 6 socket, right? So
Yeah. Hey,
socket,
live from Vegas, Jay. How do you feel, Melee? I think Melee might get buffed. especially with auto trigger and call to arms gems, because we might be able to have auto trigger war cries. Yeah, no, that's the thing with league starters. At the end of the day, like you only need it to get you to a certain level in the league start, and it's the misconception that they should be able to take down the Ubers and stuff like that. But as long as you get a solid start and you can start generating currency, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you can get there, I mean, even yellows is fine. If it's strong enough to get to yellows, then so basically you start a character, right? You have a class in mind, you have an end game build in mind. You're just making a league start from that class. So even if it gets to yellow maps, money is not that hard to make. You can do essence and beast, you can do delve, low level delve. I mean, you can do heist, blight. So many options.
Yeah, that's it. Just got to be able to survive.
Yeah, and people probably learned more this league than any other league that yellow maps are fine to make money.
Yeah, well, that's it.
People have made shit ton of money on T7. It's possible.
I mean, I feel like that was partially due to this last league's mechanic. Just
Affliction,
the snot out of everything. Now, I'm not saying it's the only thing. I'm just saying it was probably a little over exaggerated.
As
plus 1,000%, but yeah.
thanks for the resub, Smokey. I think like as an avid delver who's against Magic Find, I've never been a fan of Magic Find. I don't have an issue with Magic Find. I have an issue when it's like pumped into the mechanic the way that it was last league, and it just absolutely destabilized the market in just every worst spot. But it actually worked in the favor of anybody farming anything that wasn't Magic Find gated. So like every other mechanic was like super profitable. Yeah, was it Delve friggin' Doriani's Machinarium's like 10 div, and you know the map fragment that drops like 10 div plus.
Oh, good. And then,
but at least
Captain Lance and friends come out with videos on that jewel.
Oh yeah,
corrupted jewel. I forgot what it was called, but
the Adorned.
Yeah, that shot that piece up to like 5 div or something ridiculous. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, making so much money.
To be fair,
yeah, depending on the roll with that jewel, you could actually make like almost 100 divs too.
Yeah.
No,
it should be worth
2 mirrors. If it was like a straight up max roll 150, it was like 2 mirrors for a gem. It was like,
yeah, for the max. I was just saying if you got a good roll, not a great roll, just a good roll.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah,
that jewel is worth every cent.
I think we're gonna have a poorer league this league though. Like this is gonna be some of the. I reckon. I think I put it in my QOL video the other day. They're gonna give us a lot of stuff that we've been asking for to sort of take the spice of the amount of nerf they're gonna put in the game for drops. Like
been buttering us up.
It'd be like,
with all of these quality of life things for the most part.
Exactly, gonna be like,
hit us with the hammer.
Hey guys, we're just gonna give you like all these QOLs, but like also you're not gonna be able to make 100 div per map now. Like, yeah, exactly. Torvik Poverty League.
Delve boys aren't affected. We'll be still making just as much money as we always.
Man, Envies are still gonna be 50 div per hit, like all throughout the league. Yeah, the main league's going to be Ruthless League. Standard's going to be Ruthless League. It's all Ruthless.
I'm actually kind of curious just how many... Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm curious just how many Magic Find people are going to try to Magic Find this league again, and then realize it's just not worth it as much as it was last time. It's just like, come on, why isn't this working?
Well, it's the same people who played Tornado Shot in Burial Chambers. Like, the same people are gonna do it. They do it every single... Like, I don't know if you guys... I ran into a guy who played, like, a whole stack of people at ExileCon who played Tornado Shot. And, like, at this stage, Tornado Shot is a friggin' cult. So, like, they're just like... Greatest build of the game, Tornado Shot Magic Find, bam, PoE done. And like, you just like, I remember looking at this guy and just going, man, you're fucking on something special. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never dropping the kids at the pool again. God damn it, that was my 11th time today.
yeah, that's it, Halsman. It's just, yeah.
My stomach is so upset. I don't know why.
It's all the nerves from the
Yeah.
potential Magic Find nerfs that you're going to get slapped.
No, I don't magic find. I just delve.
Man, I died last league to that bitch is
Oh, he hits like a
not
truck.
easy.
Yeah, but once you master it. Oh, what was really bizarre, like I had a look at their wiki a long time ago, like after they put out the new wiki, and then I see like my all Crystal King video as like the guide video. I'm like, ah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Nobody,
I noticed that as well.
yeah, nobody ever told me. I found it by just happenstance. I was like, cool, 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 cool. All right, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah. I was looking up his loot, and then that's when I saw your video. I was like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm in the wiki. I made it.
No, I mean, to be sure, I mean, a lot of Delve content is based off of your videos, because no one else gives a damn to cover anything about Delve. So
No, nobody
definitely appreciate the content.
Oh, nobody was doing it in the early days, and that's
Oh yeah.
Even now.
Well,
now.
even now, your video, like the one where you're talking about optimizing Delve depth money,
yeah.
I think like 2 or 3 people redid your video with the exact
Very
same
few.
content, like 2 days
Yeah.
after yours came out. Yeah.
I noticed
and I was
that.
just like,
Jorgen,
yeah.
Jorgen, I realized watching a streamer that apparently it's very in the know about the. You remember what Oswego, Papito, and those do on the other PoE Discord?
Yeah.
The delving strat. It is like pretty common knowledge. So feel. I don't know if you've made a video about it, but if you want to, feel free to make a video about it.
Yeah, but what is the info?
It's just like you run a node that you've already done.
Oh yeah.
You go, you run it back.
I never, and
but
then you
don't destroy the walls.
yeah, and you don't
destroy the walls. Well, you're better at explaining it than I am, so.
Yeah, it was like you find a really high octane node, right? You find one in particular where it has like a role that's like additional like either sulfite or like resonators or something like that, fossils or whatever. And then you basically rerun that node multiple times, and the way that you would do that is you would run like a darkness phase run tune. So there's a Pathfinder variant now with Toxic Rain where you can just blast 100% phase run uptime all the time. You just keep rerunning that same node over and over again and collecting the same drop over and over again. I never did a video on it because I told Pup that I would never do a video on it.
You talking about like the darkness side
that's
areas,
fair enough.
or?
I mean,
Yeah,
Sorry.
the prospects of money from that is crazy.
Oh, it's a huge. It's borderline like an exploit. It's just a break in the mechanic.
So
it's not really an exploit. The Steel Mage was doing it on stream, so I saw.
I mean,
it
you're
is
abusing
No, but the problem
you're
is-
abusing the respawn mechanic to refresh loot pools.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you
guess.
could do the same thing in Adzari's vault, that would be considered an exploit.
Oh, definitely.
The problem is people look at it, but they don't understand it or they don't use it.
Yeah.
So when that happens, it still ends up being only a few people know it.
I mean, at this point, you can call it a feature because it's been in the game for so long. It might as well be as the,
Yeah, I
hasn't
was.
been patched. It's a
I
feature.
don't know if I was the first to tell about it, like around the ever since, well, during Delve League and after. But I told the Papito and the guys, and they've been, as far as I know, using it quite proficiently. I think Papito was saying, if you guys don't know, this is a moderator in official PoE Discord, voice mod. And he was saying, I think he was making like with the divines as main currency, like 5 to 6 divines an hour.
And the character to do it is like 3 div in cost to get it running. I think it was the Queen of the Forest build as well.
So you're looking for the deposits near the walls and stuff, like in the darkness areas, but you're not trying to complete the node.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just reset. Yeah,
do
so you just
reset?
log out.
Ah,
You log out, log back in.
No, you can
You
just
don't have to log out even.
you just reset it back to the node, and it'll transport you back to the OG node that you're at.
how do you do that?
And you just go, well,
You have to be running a node that you've already done, but you didn't destroy any of the walls. When you ran the zone, you didn't destroy any walls. You just
Okay,
keep
so
running
you are
the-
completing a node.
Ah,
You're just
okay.
not opening the walls.
I'm not talking about darkness farming. That's a whole different thing.
yeah. So you just basically you get to the next node, and then you teleport back to the first node, and then rinse and repeat.
But
Okay,
the
so you're
light-
just running over and over.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you're just looking for chests on the side and stuff then. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Technically, you can play Delve without ever actually having to complete a node. Like you could pre-complete the nodes and then just run through the mechanic. Hey, Curls.
But what's the best depth to do that in?
It'd be low, super low depth. Like it'd be like 100
Under
top.
300.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I think I got it all pictured in
That's
my
like
head now.
ice.
So you teleport to the node you want to start.
Yep.
And then your next node is you don't turn on the cart to say, "Hey, I want to go there." You just start running through there.
Yeah, exactly.
Travel.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Now I get
Yeah,
it. Okay.
you don't have to follow the cart because you've already run the zone on maybe even on a different character. You don't have to run it on that one.
No ways.
And once
No
you
worries.
end, you go
Petricon.
back to where you started and repeat.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah, just find a really good 4-5 wall place, and that's where you camp.
Yep. And just run, like over and over and over again.
That's playing heist all over.
It's the beauty of like people like, oh, what changes do you want to come to Delve, right? Well, I'd rather them not touch Delve, because the second that they touch Delve, they will break shit in Delve inevitably.
Oh yeah.
And like I think
Oh, yeah.
Delve as a mechanic, right, as it stands, is just balanced.
As good as is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
every league, it's consistent, it works, it's fun. Like, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of approach.
Especially if
Man.
they do like a pass through on the fossils like they did on Harvest, where all the fossils all of a sudden just become almost pointless until they finally give us a fossil that does something.
Yeah, exactly.
But best part about that is even if they make fossils like even if they make fossils useless, you still need resonators, and that's the main money when you farm or do that strat. I think Papito was saying he got like 100k Azurite an hour. So that's
Yeah, that's a
like
lot.
what, like 300
That's a lot of
Have any of
resonators.
you guys played almost immortal build? 300 to 600 depth for all
Which
without Maze Blood?
which build was that? That wasn't the Overleech build, was it?
I don't remember exactly. It wasn't RF. I mean, RF is tanky, but you can still get one shot, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I'll have to look through.
Yeah, I remember there was
And class changes and stuff. It's not gonna be the same.
yeah, that's it. Well, it's going to be hard with the flask changes without those implicits. If they're taking them out, it's going to be definitely make Mage Blood builds aren't going to be as powerful as what they once were from a defense standpoint. Unless I think they're going to change it so that they're going to be corruption rolls. So there'll be implicit corruption rolls, and so you're going to have to like corrupt on 20% reduced fire damage or something like that.
Definitely nerf the Pathfinder early.
Oh
That's
hell
for
yeah!
sure.
Pathfinders are just
I don't think Voling would give you any implicit other than quality, as stated. But we'll have to see. But one thing definitely that's gonna happen or could happen this league is the Balbala timeless jewels.
Mm.
If you use melding and if you use Balbala with the sapphire flask, and if you don't take any flask nodes, then you probably will have just like the life flask and the sapphire. But if not, then you know what I mean. Depending
Yeah.
on fast charge recovery, so you can just go melding and get max res that way. And yeah, advantageous. Easy way to cap your max res.
Yeah, that's it.
Should we make like a voice chat agreement that nobody's gonna say shit during the reveal, or maybe just resort to like wow or like holy?
I mean,
Yeah,
I have to drop
or
just because
we all just
I have to go back to work.
it feels bad, man.
I'll watch. But to go back
Having
to
to
work.
work feels bad.
Fizzter alley nerf. Yeah, it very likely shall they may attack that. I reckon they're gonna give us, you know, where they give they take. It's always
Curious about chaos inoculation, because they mentioned on one of the interviews that they don't like the interaction of people taking CI and then taking Fizz to chaos.
Oh
damage.
Really? Because that's my
They mentioned it
favorite
in the
defense
stream
mechanic.
once. I know, I like it too. I think it's really cool, but I'm really curious if they're gonna do some sort of changes around that as well, because they've mentioned it before that they don't like the interaction.
It's pretty powerful because it's just like it's
20% of your damage is gone.
Yeah, straight away. Thanks for the follow,
If you
Jay
have the good
Houston.
rolls.
Yeah, that's it. Like, yeah, it's just a what damage?
Yeah,
What
Yeah.
damage
damage?
is always the hardest thing to deal with Chaos and Knock, because if you're going Chaos and Knock, you have to deal with shields almost entirely.
Yep.
So trying to deal with physical damage is just such a pain.
Mm-hmm.
How old's your kid?
Yeah, I've got 3 little kids. I'm sorry if you hear them.
Ah, so
No, I
No,
was asking how
I don't
old.
mind.
That's why I'm
I
on
thought-
push to talk.
So we
You were
got-
a teacher and you were at school.
we got 99.5 thousand viewers on the Path of Exile,
No.
like
Twitch.
Twitch channel, or like Twitch channels as a whole right now. So like that's we've got 15 minutes to go before we even get into the thing. Thanks for the follow, Sam.
Man, that shit is insane.
It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild. Look at the amount.
Every league start, my dude.
Oh,
Every league start.
it's just
Even
such
though
a
I'm-
hype. I love it.
Even though I'm 31 years old, it still gets my blood pumping. It's fucking crazy.
Dude, that's how I feel. I'm 33 this year, and every single league start is the same. It's like, like the only time I get up at 5 a.m. for any game launch news or anything like that, I don't care about anything else. I logged my leave yesterday for the 7th from the 7th through the 14th of June, and like I gotta fly the week after PoE 2 beta comes out and everything. But like I don't even care. I'm taking the week off. I'm just gonna be bloody dungeon dwelling on Path of Exile 2 when that comes out.
Man,
I wonder
yeah,
if it's just gonna be a direct
gotta do
one-to-one
that as
port for Delve. You know, like hey, we're just moving the entire thing over. We're not changing anything.
They're gonna have to mechanically change it because of the way that Delve current
Graphics. Well,
that and like the difficulty level would just be wild. Especially PoE 2's a slower game and whatnot.
here's
So
a serious question though. If you're going to delve in 300 to 600 depth and just stay there and never die, what build would you do?
pretty much any build on my channel.
I mean, even though
I usually prefer anything that has Aegis Aurora, because
Yeah.
that stuff just usually
Aegis is so
feels
good.
better.
Like, if you ran like the Incinerate build that I put together, or like Lightning Tendrils, pretty much you can slam every boss up to 600 no sweat. Like you can slam bosses with Lightning Tendrils up to like 850. and you just won't die. Incinerate was the same. Incinerate worked exactly the same. Like you just go, and I think Incinerate was even cleaner when I ran that in the previous league. Like I was just running 600 depth with completely unfettered, like no challenge at all.
I saw the build, but you know how YouTube can be deceiving, right?
Yeah.
So I assumed you could die once in a while, but the build is tanky, you know?
By the end of it, it was just a beast. Like,
I mean, sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
make it this league then. The one you put up 4 months ago, right?
yeah, yep.
Oh yeah, I'll make it this league.
I will say I switched from maxroll.gg Ballista Pathfinder over to Tendies, and I was able to go so much deeper, way faster as soon as I switched. Like Tendies was life changing for me, man. I was like, oh my god, I can kill everything. I actually went 38 out of 40 with Tendies after I
Fuck.
got Mage Blood.
A lot of people said
Yeah.
that to me. They also managed to clear Ubers for the first time with it as well. Like,
I did. I cleared all
With
Ubers with it.
Tendies.
Yeah.
Thanks for the sub, Jade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
Tendies was just a mod. I was Uber Shaper farming with Tendies. It was just
it was
Damn.
it was really good. Exarch was kind of rough though. I will say Exarch was very, very rough.
But he said
On
Incinerate
Tendies.
is tankier,
Yeah.
right? He said Incinerate was tankier though.
Incinerate. It's weird. Like I felt Incinerate was better, but there was an interaction with Incinerate that they changed in the league that we're like 3.23. So like you would let the release off, but even if you're running elemental focus, it would still like proc if the enemy was ignited, it would proc the an additional component of damage if you had it ticked on the tree. But for whatever reason, they changed that interaction because you could just nuke enemies. So like,
Yeah.
then you have to get rid of elemental focus now because it no longer gives you, absolute ignite. Yeah.
Then going lightning control is probably better.
There's a few people that tested it and put up in the comments and in streams, and they're basically like, and in a Discord, and they were like, this is really powerful. Even from League Start. Like I tried it on League Start, and I didn't have an issue with leveling it. It was when it got to mapping, it is slower. And the problem with trying to put a League Start video or a League Start guide out is like people want it to go from like end of campaign to T16 within 2 hours.
I mean, a few builds do that, but I mean, look at your Purifying Flame build, right? It's the same thing. Like you do need to get to a point for it to feel like super crazy good.
Yeah, it's a slower build, but it just requires investment.
Yeah.
Oh, Jordan, by the way, did I ever during Exile show you my wieners?
What was that, sorry?
What?
What'd you say?
Context, wiener dog. Wiener dog.
So he wants to show you his wiener.
No.
Wiener dog. I put it in general.
Okay.
I know he means something else, but I heard what I heard.
That was funny.
Feel free, you can show it on stream if you want to.
Just to clarify, stream, nobody's looking at any wieners on stream. Okay.
What about feet? We doing feet picks today? That was what
We're not doing feet picks. No.
You're gonna come in second to Scan Man this league again anyway.
Oh, you're not gonna beat me this league. Okay, there's no way. Thanks for the sub, Aussie. We're going downhill quick.
Just to show the.
I come on here. Come on here for some educational streaming, and next thing you know, we're talking about wieners and feet again. Jesus Christ! What are you running there, George?
What do you mean you came on here for educational stuff? You're the one that brought up feet.
Sorry, did you say
Hey,
again?
Uber brought up wieners, so I just figured I'd just keep going with it. You know what I mean?
Wiener dogs.
If we went
Wiener
there,
dogs.
The wiener dogs.
Thanks for the follow link. Thanks for the sub link. Fuck it up.
Just look at those cuties in general. All 4 of them.
Those are some nice hairy wieners you got there, I will say.
Thank you, sir.
For posterity, For anyone on the stream, we're talking about literally these wiener dogs here, okay? Like, it's-
Can you show
I
them
mean,
on
there's 4 of
Oh, yeah,
them.
yeah.
You know, there's 4 of them on a bed. You know, just saying.
Jesus Christ! All right,
Wieners on wiener blanket.
moving on.
Sorry, I was in the military. I can go on and on and on.
We got seven and a half minutes until we get our fix.
It's gonna go places.
Yeah, we can make it a lot worse in 7 minutes.
Oh,
Who wants to take bets? Are we gonna see PoE 1 or PoE 2 content first?
I would say
PoE2 content to tease us.
yeah, because they're gonna want to like hype the shit out. I reckon they'll finally announce like a definitive date. Like, well, they have 7th of June, but like I reckon they're gonna double down finally and be like, this is it's happening finally.
I
Like,
think it's gonna start in PoE 2 because most people will just leave after PoE 1.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
They're gonna open up Path of Building immediately after PoE
Exactly.
1 content comes out, so they're gonna. I think they'll trickle feed us some PoE 2 stuff first.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
it.
the last event was disappointing as hell. They didn't say much about Affliction. They just put us in the dark. It kind of felt bad.
Yeah, that's it.
I just hated all of the RNG mechanics with dealing with stuff. I spent 6 hours waiting for a freaking NPC to spawn, and it was just the dumbest thing ever.
Oh, you mean for Affliction?
Yeah, for Affliction, sorry.
I don't know. It wasn't that
Like,
hard.
I thought it was cool. Some of the stuff about it was cool. The wisp, the extra magic find, all that stuff was really cool. But just like making me sit here and reset instances for 2.5 hours just to talk to one NPC, come on.
I mean, yeah, trying to find Black Morgan was a pain in the ass for me. But I play hardcore, so I'm used to having more patience.
Oh, so you're already a masochist. You don't count.
Yeah, I don't count.
Hardcore, by the way.
If everyone was a
not
Jorg fan,
It's
you're just sitting there
just hard.
lost right now.
It's just hard. Yeah.
I keep failing every league to kill Ubers. I have to do it this league.
You just gotta invest into a build. You're gonna go 100% blast with mage blood and stuff like that.
You just missed your best opportunity. Penis Brand was the Uber killing build.
But when it's that cheese, I didn't want to do it. You
That's-
know what I mean? Like,
well,
Hey, it counts. It counts.
thanks for the sub, Sneaky.
Affliction gave you all the money you needed, and Penance Brand gave you all the damage you needed. There's not much fun in killing Ubers that way.
I never play like cheese builds like that either. That's why I've never put a build like that on the channel. I thought about it and I was like, no, because every man is dog
If you give me your word that your Purifying Flame is gonna be tanky, I'm gonna league start that.
Oh, it's gonna be tanky. I did the league start test and it was pretty tanky. Once you go into Chaos Inoculation with it, it gets the 300k effective hit pool. It's gonna be tanky. That's why I was like, I'm gonna play it because I want to go back to Ignite. Like if you have a look at my Detonate Dead build from a few leagues ago, the Black Flame Detonate Dead, it'll be that tanky, and that was running 600 to 800 depth, no mage blood.
What about before you go CI though?
It's not as tanky. Well, the way that I've leveled the tree, it's got like it's life based before you go CI. Like the only thing that stops you from going CI straight away is Aegis Aurora. So once you get your Aegis Aurora, like you're Gucci.
But on life base,
I got it to one.
Not die in yellow maps.
I got it to red tier maps without dying. With a little bit of investment that you get in your first like run of maps. So I've got a league starter build that I'm going to be doing for that anyway. Hey Valkynia.
Yeah, as long as I can get to yellow maps and not die, I'll farm up the money for the CI build, and then after converting, I can finish my red maps.
I gotta be right back. I gotta go tell my girlfriend that the PoE news can't talk with her right
And
now.
by the way, thank you so much
But I have to call her
for
oh.
all the content and the builds.
Nah, it's all good, man.
Your
Look,
content kept me playing past week 2, so
I'll
Nah, they're being They're being nice to you, George. I don't like it.
Yeah, you're like,
Get it from everybody. Like I have people in here who like
Hey,
me.
you're
I'm
like,
trying to get him to cry on stream.
you're like, oh, you just
okay,
you just like bait builds, man. Like Jesus, all those bait builds that you put out every league, like fucking hell.
right? Everything's like after day. We'll start this Mage Blood on at level 44.
Mage Blood, day 2 Mage Blood.
Question for
are you
stream
streaming, sir?
rules. Do you want us to just say like, "Oh wow, oh cool," and just not say anything else?
Oh,
Like,
we'll keep
you just want us to
we'll
not say
keep
anything at all?
we'll keep it on the like while they're talking, we'll let it run, and then we
Okay.
can talk about it afterwards and in the Q&A and stuff.
I'll head
Okay.
back to work. I'll catch you guys after if you're still there. If not,
Oh
the
shit!
next
You don't
time
get to
you
play
come on.
PoE at work. You guys should get different jobs. You guys should play
Yeah,
PoE at work.
this guy, he plays PoE at work, and then he messaged me, oh, I better catch up now. And then hops in the stream, oh, I better catch up now. I'm only at work playing PoE. I have a buddy that did that too. Like, yeah, he's a sales rep, and he's like, oh, don't you play PoE all day as well? I'm like, no, I got to go and do this thing called a job.
Yeah, loser. Look at you.
What a scrub! What a scrub! You got to work for a
Right.
living, bro? Like, what are you doing?
Hashtag do better.
When I'm on night shifts, dude, I just wiggle the mouse on my work computer and just fucking play PoE all night, dude. It's 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I work graveyards as a doing CAT scans, so it's like if there's no one there, it's like
In the hospital. Oh my god.
100%. I got my laptop out. Everyone knows like when I get there, I clear the spot off on the table on the little desk at work. I get all my shit set up, and they're like, "Here you go."
1 minute.
1 minute. Yeah, we got 1 minute countdown.
Here we go.
Yeah,
One
one
minute
more minute
until
to
we
talk
see
bad about
PoE
George.
2 content for the next hour and a half.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. I
We've
have
removed
to-
Magic Find. Entirely.
I just always tell them the place I live at because it's like a retirement place.
Oh, nice.
I'm retired, not the other R word.
Nice.
And I'm pretty young as well. But like, what was I saying again? Yeah, I'm retired. I forgot.
And yeah, Shell, I gotta give him shit. I mean, might as well.
All
I
right.
mean, no,
Here we go.
can't give it to my kids.
All right,
Like,
8 seconds. 8 seconds.
I'll mute myself now. That you got 10 seconds, and I'll be nice to you again.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from
From
Grinding
Grinding
Gear
Gear
Games. Welcome to our live stream. We have a busy lineup today with announcements for Path of Exile 2,
No, I always
as well
wondered
as
what
the
he would look
exclusive
like with one of
reveal
those
of Path of
headband
Exile Necropolis,
dents.
which launches on March 29th. For the first time ever, we'll be releasing this expansion simultaneously on all platforms, PC, Mac, and console.
That's pretty big.
Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your suffering back attachment. Today's stream will start with Path of Exile 2, where Jonathan will show you our latest announcements. Mark will then take you on a deep dive into the new Path of Exile Necropolis Challenge League, which launches in 1 week. He'll cover the league mechanics, its deep crafting system, large endgame changes, some improvements to the core Path of Exile campaign, and finally some quality of life features. We'll then show you our new supporter packs, and we'll head into a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask us your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Yes, full patch notes.
Yes,
Hey guys,
baby.
it's time to chat about PoE 2 again. It's only been a few months since we talked about the Mercenary, and yet even since then a huge amount has changed. When we announced the Mercenary, we also showed off a lot of the new capabilities that our engine has around animation and character control. Moving while shooting was a huge deal in that class, but there were a lot of other more subtle things going on to make it feel good too. Well, in recent times we've only been showing off new character classes, but one thing I've been really excited about is to go back and apply all the new ideas and capabilities that we have to our old classes too. Today I'd like to show off the Ranger, and I hope that you guys like what you see.
Didn't we get the crossbow guy last time?
I've lived in this forest.
Yeah, last time
all
was a
my
crossbow dude.
life.
Mm.
And if there's
I
one
want to
thing
see how
I've
bad the
learned,
melee is, dang it.
it's that a ranger must.
Hey,
never
Jorgen, any
miss.
chance you could stream this to Discord so I can listen to the actual
A
thing
beast
as well?
will hunt you.
Let me just...
Just listen to the live stream and mute Yorgie's feed.
There is no truly escaping the Count's justice.
Your sentence is to be hanged from the neck until dead. Let your souls feed the first ones, and your bodies feed the land.
Yes.
After her!
Finally, they're not showing super slow fucking videos.
It definitely isn't a WASD.
This exile has changed.
I feel like this is
No
slightly
more
faster
running.
because how more
No more fear.
You won't get away this time.
That looks so cool.
Oh, the Almond Affliction's showing a fucking health bar.
I will put an
They're staggered.
end to this madness.
Mount?
It mounts! Mount!
Hey, look at the stagger bar underneath the health bar.
They showed that off a little bit last time with
Let
the,
this be
armor
a
break system
warning,
that they were showing.
Gianor. I'm coming for you next.
That logo still.
What is going on with mounts?
Let the hunt begin.
When we started to work on the Ranger, we knew we had to make a class with high agility. The dream of fast bow gameplay is Legolas, so that's what we wanted to deliver. The starting point is moving while shooting a bow. Any kind of basic arrow skill can be fired while moving, with a movement penalty. This immediately gives you a lot more freedom on the battlefield. Here, I'm starting each battle with a poison burst arrow to poison groups of enemies, then using a lightning arrow to arc lightning around larger packs. For even more mobility, we also have a variety of skills that involve vaulting around the battlefield too. This is Frost Escape. Using it jumps backwards and shoots a freezing arrow at the ground. Really useful if monsters close on you and you need to get away. Once you've landed, if monsters were frozen, it'd be nice to have some way to take advantage of that extra time. This is where Snipe comes in. Snipe is a skill shot that you need to charge up and release at exactly the right time.
Looks a lot more powerful
If you
too.
land the right timing, Snipe is guaranteed to produce a critical strike, and does a small AoE as well, so it's a great finisher. You can also move while shooting arrow rain skills too. This skill is Lightning Rod. It shoots an arrow into the air that sticks into the ground, and does a small AoE. Once the rods are in the ground though, they attract any arcs of lightning that are nearby, causing them to explode again. This means you can stack up a bunch of lightning rods on the ground and bounce lightning between them, doing way more damage. Now this takes care of packs pretty well, but for bigger enemies I'd like to have something that's going to enhance my damage output too. This skill is Stormcaller Arrow. Using it sticks an arrow into an
That's
enemy.
pretty cool.
After a short period of time, a lightning bolt comes from the sky and strikes them.
Yeah, Wrecking Bill looks
This has a high
amazing.
chance to shock them, and shocked enemies take 30% more damage from all sources.
It looks so
If
mobile.
something big walks along, it's a good idea to throw one of these at them first to enhance your damage before following up with the other combo.
These are only
Now, if
one
I really want
sockets.
to enhance this combo, there are a couple of things I could do using our support gem system. Skills in Path of Exile are granted by items called skill gems. Each skill gem has coloured sockets in it, and these sockets are for other items called support gems. Support gems modify your skills, and it's where a huge amount of the customization of your character comes from. First, I'm going to take this multiple projectile support gem. I could add it to my lightning arrow, and it would fire multiple arrows. This would increase the number of targets I can hit, but that isn't the effect that I'm after. If I add it to my lightning rod skill instead, then when I fire it, I get a nice group of rods.
That's
this means that I
pretty
don't have to
cool.
spend as much time setting up before I can use it with my lightning arrow combo.
I just like that you can have all of the main skills have more than just
I might
one
also
links.
add faster projectiles to make the lightning rods land faster too. Now next up I'm going to grab this chain support gem. Chaining causes many effects to repeat on new targets when you hit them. If I add it to my lightning arrow, it will cause the arcs that come out of lightning arrow to strike even more targets, rippling along my line of lightning rods for huge amounts of damage.
Honestly, the skill gem system alone annihilates D4, let alone everything else about PoE 2.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Now I think we can use support gems to improve Stormcaller Arrow as well. Let's start simple. I'm going to chuck less duration on here. This will cause the lightning from the sky to strike a bit faster. Next up, we have a support called Shock Proliferation. This support makes it so that any enemies shocked by the skill will also have the shock jump to nearby enemies, meaning they'll take the extra damage as well. It's just a chance to proc, so it's not going to proc on every single pack, but when it does, a pack will go down ultra quick.
You can see your ailment on your health bar too, from what I can see there.
Another useful empowering skill is Barrage. Barrage is one of the rare cooldown skills in PoE 2. It enhances whatever your next attack is to fire 3 times. With what we have here, I think it might be a good idea to use it with Lightning Arrow. It'll generate 3 times as many lightning explosions. You could also use it at just the right moment with Snipe, or any number of other skills depending on what effect you need more of right now. It's very versatile and can be used in a range of situations.
I'm so happy they're taking this time with this to just get it right.
Now, even as mobile as the Ranger is, it's still
very
useful
it.
to slow monsters down.
Quality over
and
quantity.
A Ranger certainly has quite a few tools to do this. If you're prepared to get
You
up
notice
close
they
and
actually have the
personal, we have a
DPS
skill
on
called
it?
Electrocuting Rod. First, jump over the enemy and shoot it into them. Once the rod's in place, any lightning damage they take will build up a special electrocute gauge. Once the gauge is full, the monster is totally suppressed, allowing you to kill them easily. Now, sometimes when you use Electrocuting Rod, the enemy dies before you get a chance to electrocute them. I think there's another support gem I could add to my Lightning Arrow to fix this problem. Neural Overload will make it easier to electrocute enemies.
Neural
If the skill
Overload.
it's attached to puts them over 50% of their electrocute bar, it will trigger instantly. Now this skill works really well for suppressing a single large enemy, but I'd like to improve my crowd control ability for groups as well.
So many
I'm
skill
going to add a
gems.
support gem called Frozen Nexus to my Frost Escape. This makes an area of chilled ground around frozen enemies. I'll also add Deep Freeze to it as well, which will make the freezes last a bit longer.
Feels like there's a big emphasis
Now
on
when I use
proccing
my Frost
ailment.
Escape on that front enemy, others nearby are slowed down. It would also be good if I had a way to slow enemies down when they're farther away from me as well. So this would be a great time to start getting into the Ranger's poison and plant-based skill set. To start with, let's have a look at Vine Arrow. This skill fires an arrow into the air that creates a small plant where it lands. The plant sends out tendrils to nearby enemies, slowing them down and poisoning them. But it does have another function too. If the plant gets further poisoned, it transfers that poison to the monsters it's attached to.
Poison
Normally
proliferation.
you would only be able to get 1 stack of poison on a monster at a time, but you can put as much poison as you want on this plant. You could just use the plant to slow monsters down and not worry about the poison part. But if you want to go all in on poison, this is the way to do it.
It's Toxic Rain on crack.
Now if you do want to focus on poisons more, another useful skill is Poison Bloom Arrow. This skill creates these plant pustules on the ground. If you wait a little while, they'll explode. Just like any other plant skill, these plants respond well to poison. Shoot the Poison Burst arrow at enemies nearby and watch your plants grow more and more powerful. Poisoning the pustules causes them to do much more damage and makes them explode much faster as well. I can also add the Pierce support to Poison Burst arrow. Doing this will mean I get multiple poison bursts as it goes through each monster. We also have another skill to make a nice environment for your plants to grow. Gas Cloud Arrow. This skill shoots the ground and creates a cloud of gas that continuously poisons things inside.
Fart builds.
Throw your plants
Fart
down
builds,
and
let's
put a gas
go.
cloud on top. The constant poisoning will make them grow.
We have reached the peak era of ARPGs.
Pull my finger builds.
Another poison-related skill we have on the Ranger is called Plague Bearer. This is a reservation skill, meaning it uses Spirit. When I enable it, I get this counter that counts
Top
up
left
whenever
corner.
I apply poison to a monster. You can see the counter on the skill increasing as each new monster is poisoned.
That's in PoE 1.
Now I'm going to fight these monsters and make sure to poison them as much as I can to build up the counter.
Well, no, he said reservation, but his mana's not reserved. I think that
No,
little white bar is
it's
spirit.
Spirit's how you reserve in PoE 2. It doesn't use mana anymore. It's a different mechanic.
It does take quite a while to get the counter up to 100%, but it's worth it. Whenever I choose, I can unleash the poison in a big explosion around my character, dealing a large amount of damage.
Interesting.
Rain of Arrows. Skill gems look way different
Now,
too.
next up we have a classic, Rain of Arrows. It's simple. Shoot a bunch of arrows in the sky, and they rain down for a short time. It's decent AoE and damage at long range. Now this skill doesn't last too long, but we can change that. It's time to introduce Frenzy Charges. Frenzy Charges are used for a variety of skills on the Ranger, but with Rain of Arrows...
See how he pulled the gems out all together?
How do we get some though?
Yeah, it all came out together.
Here we have a skill called Sniper's Mark. Put it on an enemy and it will grant you a Frenzy Charge when you crit them. Now remember that snipe skill from earlier? That skill guarantees a critical hit. So first we Sniper's Marked an enemy, then we sniped them. And after that, the next Rain of Arrows will last a really, really long time.
Interplay between gems is going to be such a deal
We
by
still have some
itself.
weaknesses though.
Yeah.
While Rain of Arrows hits enemies with a ton of arrows, each one doesn't do much damage individually. It would be nice if we had a way to break the armor on enemies so that Rain of Arrows dealt more damage.
Armor break.
Thankfully, we have this Corrode Armor support gem, and we can put it on our Gas Cloud arrow. Corrode Armor causes poison to erode the armor on targets until it's all gone. This will significantly increase the damage that Rain of Arrows does against armored targets. Oh yeah, and one more thing about gas clouds.
What?
They can be detonated with explosions.
Detonating gas
Explosive arrow
cloud.
here. Let's check it out.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
Now, because monsters and gas clouds are likely to have their armor broken, I think there's another useful combo we can do.
Fart
This
bombs,
is an exploit
yeah.
weakness support. This support provides extra bonus damage to targets that have their armor broken. Perfect for what we have going on here.
Auto fart bomber. Start drafting it up.
Fart bombers.
So, those are just some of the skills we have on the Ranger class in Path of Exile 2. Now that we've seen all these skills, let's see how well they do against a much tougher enemy. It's time to fight the boss of the temples, Thanos.
God, again.
Did he just say Thanos?
I heard that too. Oh, Thanos.
Thanos, yeah, okay.
My PoE 1 brain is telling me that you're not doing a whole lot of damage by how slow that's ticking down. But that's just because PoE 1 is so jacked.
The League Star character.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like the boss effects are very nice.
Very noticeable.
Yeah.
Unlike other games.
Yeah, like there's a lot of engagement.
Fucking 4090 to run this shit apparently. Look how good it would.
GG is smart enough to make the color effects not the same color as the ground.
This is how you stop.
Only gold. Sag.
That's the Ranger. But oh yeah, there was one more thing. The mount.
Yeah, mount, come on.
Yes, you can ride a rower. While riding the rower, you can shoot arrows with no movement penalty. That's pretty overpowered.
What
you
the
can also use your bolting skills to jump right off the rower's back. Once the rower doesn't have a rider, it starts attacking monsters, so he's nice to have around, even if you're not riding him. That said,
That's
if you are
legit.
riding, don't
That'll
get hit.
just be off the
If you
pet.
take a heavy stun while on a rower, you'll fall off, and it takes a while to get up. So be careful.
Movement speed builds dead.
Yep.
So that's what we wanted to show you today. Now,
Well,
there is
however,
just one
yeah, they
more
said that
rather
you
unfortunate
get
bit of
punished
news.
if you get stunned
Path of
pretty
Exile
badly,
2's beta
so-
is going to be delayed. We
Yeah.
previously said that we would get the beta out on June 7th, and while I think we would be able to get the game's content ready in time, we underestimated how long it would take to get gameplay polished to a standard that we're happy with. We're still going to be doing alpha testing in June, but we're going to be delaying the beta until later in the year. I don't have an exact date for you today, but it should be towards the end of the year. In the meantime,
Honestly,
you can still play
huge
Path of
balls
Exile
just
1,
for
of course.
keeping the alpha date.
Now, speaking
honestly.
of PoE 1,
Yeah.
we also have the 324 expansion to announce. I'm going to hand over to Mark, the game director on PoE 1, to show us what's in store.
New league.
We had a
I'll
lot
borrow
of
it
fun
and take
making
more
this
time.
one. So let's just get straight into it with the trailer for Path of Exile Necropolis.
Oh, here we go. Oh.
Log in.
Cold flesh, dirt, maggots, and ghosts.
That VA.
Our job is to keep them where they belong.
Looks like Filch out of Harry Potter.
It's your first night, so you'll need this. A ghostly lantern for ghastly tinkering.
No, this is a dungeon crawler?
Oh, Infinite Dungeon.
Dungeon crawling roguelike?
Please! Please!
You learn to peer into the souls of the dead. You'll learn how to twist them. Meet me in the Necropolis. You can pilfer shiny things from a corpse, but you can pilfer glorious things from a soul.
That's fucking legit.
Oh no,
Why?
what a crafting method.
A grave digger.
Gravedigger League.
Oh, people are gonna lose themselves.
Oh, that's awesome. T17 maps.
Multiple.
What?
Yes, please!
Penultimate bosses?
More pinnacles! Yes, I knew it! More transfigured!
Is that like a fiery death ray? Holy shit.
What are these fights?
I got goosebumps, boys. I got chills.
I'm fucking G'd up.
It's hard, but the pay.
I got chills, boys.
Penultimate bosses.
You say.
The last one looked like Uber Lycia.
In the Necropolis League, you will encounter Undertaker Aramor,
yeah.
a man collecting the scattered spirits of the Eternal Empire for a mysterious purpose. These spirits have begun to haunt the monsters of Rayclast, unleashing their ancient fury and
That's even
sorrow
more
onto the
dangerous
world.
than it already was.
The Undertaker will provide you with the Lantern of Aramor, a powerful family heirloom which can illuminate the wrathful spirits haunting monsters throughout Rayclast. With it, the Undertaker hopes to employ you to rid Rayclast of this menace, and further his cryptic cause.
What is that skin?
The lantern can be used when entering any new area. When peering through it, you can examine the spirits haunting that area. The lantern also allows you to manipulate them, letting you configure which monsters are affected by which mods. It would be wise to take your time with your decisions here, for the spirits are not forgiving.
So this should work in maps.
When peering through the lantern, you can also see extra details about the packs of monsters in the area. Rowers here are considered common, whereas the water elementals are more scarce. If you want things to be easier, you can put the more difficult spirits on the elementals, which you'll encounter less often. We've tried to make sure that by engaging with the lantern, you are able to intelligently control the difficulty in the Necropolis League. The spirits come in a number of forms which represent the danger they pose. For example here, the infested vultures are servant haunted, causing them to deal a small amount of increased damage. But the Vol's Vanguard are Noble Haunted, causing them to deal a large amount of increased damage. As you reach higher level areas in Rayclast, the tier and number of spirits that are haunting monsters will generally increase. Your game knowledge can help you here. If you're aware of the composition of a monster pack, this means certain mods will be easier to manage. For example, the mod that increases a pack's damage for every monster killed has no effect on packs with a single monster, like a Devourer. However, if we found a spirit that makes the strongest monster in a pack deal 100% more damage, well, I'm going to avoid the Devourer. You might have noticed that the Lantern of Aramor provides other useful information, such as the types of abilities monsters use, or the damage types they deal. So for those who are less familiar with how these monsters work, this can be a great way to learn what you're up against. The spirits are constantly moving throughout Rayclast, so if you are finding a campaign area too difficult, you can just wait a few minutes and peer through the lantern again to see what's changed. Of course, powerful spirits beget powerful rewards. There are two reasons why you might want to face a challenge now and then. Firstly, not all the spirits are malicious. Sometimes the monsters aren't haunted at all, but are instead devoted. These can grant basic rewards like increased experience, or bigger rewards like spawning the Nameless Seer, an NPC that will grant you a single unique item after you defeat all of the packs affected by that spirit.
Guaranteed uniques?
The more haunted monsters you defeat in the previous area before using the lantern, the more likely the devoted monsters will appear in the next area.
That's awesome.
Monsters haunted by higher tier spirits will increase the chance of the devoted appearing even more, meaning that sometimes it's worth putting the hardest modifier possible on very common monsters, if you're brave enough.
So if you play a really good
we've
league
tried hard
starter,
here to allow players to customize the danger and rewards as much as they can.
This is very much a
Aramor is an
Jack of all
Undertaker,
trades league.
and you can
Yep.
probably
So it's
guess
gonna be
what we're
bossing
taking to
and
him.
crowd clearing.
that's it.
The second main reward from the Necropolis League is monsters with unresolved anguish. Once slain, their corpses need extra care from the Undertaker, and he will offer to take them back to his necropolis
That's
and
really
store
cool.
them in the morgue. Time to earn your keep. When you are ready, you can visit the morgue to view the monsters you have collected, and then get to work burying them in one of many graves in Aramor's
Corpse
cemetery.
crafting, let's go.
For example, we will bury this Katava's Herald. Aramor's mysterious soul experiments can coalesce
It's
powerful
like bestiary with dead bodies.
Here I've chosen to create a pair of boots.
Then you could heal your pains and aid this soldier, so that you may grace them with fleetness.
These boots are useful for my character, but aren't exactly what I hoped for. And this is where the Necropolis crafting system really shines.
Oh!
You'll have noticed that the corpse we collected
This is gonna be
earlier had a
harvest crafting
crafting
all
effect on
over
it.
again.
Or
This
rog
is cool.
or rog
All collected
crafting.
corpses do.
Or a
Yeah,
combination of
If
two.
you
is
bury
going to
multiple corpses in the
dominate
cemetery,
Deterministic
all adjacent corpses can
crafting.
be exercised at once
600%.
to create
Holy
one item.
shit.
All of the crafting effects on those corpses will apply to that same item. This allows you to
That's
have either
legit.
one or many different crafting projects
How many
on display in the
graves?
cemetery. For example, next time I try to create boots, I could bury corpses that increase the chance of getting move speed modifiers. To go further, I could use these to generate higher tier modifiers. Then, I could try to bias it towards being an evasion pair with this. Finally, I'll apply some crafting effects that improve the probability of getting good rolls.
This is gonna be OP for crafting.
Now, let's craft our item and see what we get.
Oh my god.
That's gonna
pick
be
what you
off
put it on,
the
too.
chain.
Imagine filling the
As you can see now,
entire
we have a
thing
much
just to
better pair of
craft
That's what I
boots,
was
insane
forged from the
herb-
souls of our
armor.
enemies.
Oh,
You could even
yeah,
use
there
the
we go.
entire cemetery to craft one item.
That's so
There
you,
is
you could
always
perfectly
something
craft
you
your
can do
gear.
to try and ensure your item will be as best as it can be.
That's OP input.
We hope to see some really crazy grave crafts.
You'll be able to make
If you're
mirror
lucky,
tier
you
items
might
with
find
that.
corpses with meta crafting modifiers. These can be buried to manipulate your crafting projects in more drastic ways. This one increases the potency of all crafting effects of adjacent undead corpses.
Yeah, they're gonna. This
Another
is
meta
Harvest.
crafting
This is
modifier
Harvest
gives a chance to
2.0.
drop an extra item from your craft, with all the same crafting outcomes applied. All you have to do is bury a lot of undead monsters.
What?
This is not going core. There's no
There's
way.
no way.
They wouldn't let Harvest go to core. There's no way this will.
This is gonna bust the game so badly.
You can also craft new unique items exclusive to
unique?
the Necropolis League using this system.
Craft union
As you explore
uniques.
Rayclast, you might find the corpses of famous Eternal Empire families. And when you bury an entire family together and exorcise them, they will thank you with a unique specific to their
What the
lineage.
fuck?
Bury the whole family. Oh my.
For example, the Navalius Inheritance Belt.
Flasks.
I'll give you a
Oh my god, there's no way! The Pathfinders!
100%
You can
increased
use other
effect of
corpses
flasks?
alongside them to grant implicit mods, manipulate the values of explicit mods, and more. In this case, with the Parandus Pact, you can even change the modifiers it generates. This unique is a jewel which adds extra stats to passive skills in a radius when socketed into the passive skill tree. The stats it adds are randomly generated, but you can bias it towards a specific type by using
Yeah,
other
reckon
crafting
it.
effects, such as this one, which increases the chance of getting life modifiers. Let's see what we get. Damn, we didn't get it this time. I guess we're gonna have to go and collect more corpses.
It's still gonna
Of
be
course,
there's gonna be
You can
nuts
trade the
rolls.
corpses away to other players.
corpses?
All you need to do
Oh
is
my
purchase
God.
empty coffins from the Undertaker and use them on your corpses in the mall,
Oh God,
which will
that's-
itemize them.
Oh my god. There's gonna be some ridiculous shit.
Another item in the Necropolis League that you can find are Embers of the All Flame.
EFT.
These are
selling the
monster
whole
spirits
family.
that remain living in the All
This is
Flame,
gonna be another
a
one
powerful
of those league
ancient
mechanics that's
artifact of
entirely
Rayclast. And you can set them free by
self-regulating.
placing them in the
Yeah.
Lantern of Aramor
There's
and
no need to
defeating
play
them.
literally anything else.
These embers drop throughout Rayclast as itemized packs of monsters. You are able to use these packs to replace the packs in areas. For example, we have found this
Tattoos,
All-Flame
oh no.
Ember of Tarfor.
Tattoos are back.
We can
Log
now
in.
go to enter the next area and replace one of the monster
Tattoos,
packs
oh
in
no.
here.
Yeah,
You can
hell
see we've
yeah.
also gotten one
Love
of the defaulted
tattoos.
modifiers to appear. We can pair up the Karui ancestors with this modifier,
Ah,
making them even more
tattoos.
rewarding. Let's go ahead and replace the tentacle miscreations. However, when replacing packs, you want to double check their density, as the new pack will inherit the
Tattoos
density of the
confirmed.
replaced pack. The Karui ancestors we have now added to our area can even drop basic variations of tattoos.
Oh, thank God. That is
This
so
an
good.
example from the Trial of the Ancestors
That's
League,
fucking
which can be
impressive.
used
I love
to
tattoos.
change what they do. There are many different types of itemized packs. You can find Breach and Legion
so
monsters
you're
that drop
telling me
splinters,
this league mechanic can drop all
untainted
of the
packs
other
that
league
provide
mechanic
insane
stuff
amounts of
too?
experience.
Yeah,
and
it's
even
like
simple
Legacy
scrolls,
League
which
almost.
can be used to replace difficult monsters
All right.
to make life
We're not
easier.
going to Poverty League, apparently.
And of course, these Ember
no,
monsters
we're
can
not.
be raised as specters too.
Also, new specters.
Finally, let's discuss how this league works in in-game maps. Each in-game map will allow you to
Oh.
manipulate it using the lantern on
Yeah, I
the map
thought
device
so.
UI. However, instead of randomly cycling every few minutes, it is fixed to that map. Once you view the map through the lantern, you cannot remove it from the map device, so you can't trade that map away
this
now
would be
that
a
you've
great
seen it is too
SSF
difficult
league.
for you, or has monsters in it that you'd rather avoid, like porcupines. We're also trying something new this
No, they're
time
gonna give us
around.
passives.
During the Necropolis League, there will be support for the League on the Atlas passive tree. Multiple clusters will be there, allowing you
Oh,
to
that's
enhance
cool.
the gameplay,
So if you wanna play the new
customize
league
it,
mechanic,
and even
you can
change its
actually
behavior in
spec
meaningful
into it.
ways.
Yeah.
One way that you can change the crafting in a meaningful way is with the Prospero's Wager Keystone.
There's definitely a fair few
With this
changes in the
keystone,
tree
all
there.
the monsters with unresolved anguish come with this crafting modifier, which causes them to generate a random craft when buried. This means instead of pre-planning your crafts, you have to adapt to them on the fly to get the best results. These clusters will not be available in Standard League. In 3.24,
here we
we've made
go.
a plethora of changes to the endgame. We've introducing new bosses, adding another tier of maps, and streamlining the Atlas. The most difficult and most rewarding content in Path of Exile can be found in Uber Pinnacle bosses, such as the Maven and the Searing Exarch. Currently, the only way to access these bosses is by allocating specific keystones on the Atlas passive tree. While this system offers a nice element of control, it causes a problem. Rewards and access to the non-Uber variants are now economically priced around the rewards of the Uber fights. This means it is wasteful to run the non-Uber variants instead of simply selling them.
Yeah, he is kind of right.
Another problem that we noticed is the difficulty jump between the Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content was relatively large.
Yep.
And there wasn't obvious content that could bridge this gap.
Exactly.
Many players would give up on their characters before being able to defeat the Uber Pinnacle bosses.
No, they're changing.
In 3.24, we will be making some changes to this. We are removing the keystones that give access to the Uber Pinnacle bosses from the Atlas tree, and instead we'll be adding a new set of fragments that give you access to this content.
that makes sense.
Yep.
Where do you get these fragments?
Run the non-Ubers to get to
We
the
are adding a new tier of maps, Tier 17 maps,
Holy
which
shit.
not only give you access to the Uber Pinnacle content, but also test your characters in new ways. They feature a new set of bosses, Uber monsters, and a new tier of modifiers that can roll on the maps.
I'm down.
There are 5
I
new
like
tier
this.
17
That's
maps in
that's
total,
power
with
creep,
some
but I'll take
surprising
it.
boss fights at the end.
Absolutely.
We'll
Whoa,
look at a couple today
so
and
they're
eventually
all
you can
new
discover for
maps.
yourself.
Yeah, they're all new maps, new
First, we
monsters,
have
new
the
bosses,
Citadel.
everything.
This
Fuck.
map contains an ancient
Fucking
Calderon
log in.
citadel.
So much
Like
content.
many
So
expedition
much.
monsters as the signature packs
Dell
throughout
players
the
are
map.
going to just blast
At the
through
end,
those
you
maps
will
because
fight
we're used to
Uber
the just
Uhtred.
insane numbers.
This is a
you gotta
version of a
deal
boss
with.
from Expedition League, with all its abilities and mechanics enhanced. Uber Uhtred
that
will
means I gotta
even
play
be
his
able to summon
damn
2
build.
other expedition bosses
Expedition
to aid it
bosses?
during the fight.
Expedition bosses.
Secondly, we have
God,
the
I love
Fortress map. This map is an impregnable fortress, guarded by monsters from the
Fuck,
heist
it's
list.
crazy.
At the end, you will encounter an Uber version of the Unbreakable. Again, it has enhanced abilities and mechanics you'll have to learn and overcome. Each of the Tier 17 map bosses has a chance to drop a unique item, allowing for some target farming. However, these
That's
aren't
so
entirely
cool.
new unique items. Instead, we've taken other unique items, removing them from the core drop pool, and rebalancing them to fit here. One example is this reworked version of Wraith Lord. It has 4 Abyss sockets, and allows you to summon an additional Spectre for each Ghastly Eye Jewel socketed into it. Another example is Mana Storm. This has been rebalanced to grant a lot more damage than before,
Sorry, Storm.
alongside some more impactful mana
More
stats,
mana.
if you can get lucky rolls. Alongside adding Tier 17 maps, we have also changed the Uber Pinnacle bosses to have completely distinct unique item drop pools from their non-Uber counterparts.
Finally.
This means
So
there is
you
a
can
reason
only
to
farm
farm
the
both
base version
versions.
for certain items and only
Let's
farm
take a
Uber
look at
for
the
other
Shaper
ones.
Yep.
versus the Uber Shaper. The Shaper will
Shaper
drop
Touch.
these uniques: Voidwalker, Shaper's Touch, Solstice Vigil, and Dying Sun. Whereas the Uber Shaper will drop these: Echoes of Creation, Sublime Vision,
That's good.
Entropic Devastation,
Yeah, I'm down.
Starforge,
But that's going to
and a new
reduce.
unique
That's going to
battle
reduce the
called
cost.
Tides of Time.
Oh, that's really
Another
powerful.
example of a new unique is this helmet from the Uber Eater of Worlds, Ravenous Passion, and these gloves from the Uber Searing
Rage
Exile,
grants cast
the
speed and
Celestial
spell damage.
Brace. Each of the Uber Pinnacle bosses has a new unique
Spell
to their drop
Rage.
pools. We've identified
Oh,
another
no.
major problem with the endgame we'd like to
Wait.
address. With
Hate
every
Forge.
expansion added to the game, we have been increasing the complexity of running maps.
Oh no.
It's at the point now where a player must
Homes,
repeatedly
clubs, and
execute a large
shambles.
sequence of steps to run maps efficiently. It can be easy to forget critical
You know, they're
steps,
showing off
and
melee
it can
a
be
lot.
tiring to repeat them. To solve this, we
That's
are
true.
removing some systems, but are keeping what is good about them. The 2 main systems we've removed are Sextants and the Master
What?
Mission
What?
Selector. It is
Yeah, I
not
thought
our
they'd do
intention
that.
to dull the content, however. We have completely reworked Scarabs to include most of the options that were previously covered by
Okay.
those mechanics, and many, many
You
more.
make Scarabs easier
Let's
to
take
get?
a look at some of them. Commonly, you might find Scarabs that simply grant access to different content. Here, we have a Scarab that causes Beyond Demons to spawn when killing monsters in your maps. And here, we have one that adds a Delirium Mirror. Each type of Scarab now has multiple versions, so if you want to fully invest in a type of
Delve.
content, you can do so. Here's a suite of Ultimatum Scarabs. This Ultimatum Scarab adds an Ultimatum encounter to a map. This Ultimatum Scarab of Bribing then causes that Ultimatum encounter to grant better rewards and its
Oh.
monsters to yield more experience. This ultimatum scarab of dueling will cause that ultimatum
I'm really
encounter
curious
to
about
always guarantee
Delve
the
then,
Trial
because
Master
if they
boss
do
fight
anything
at the
with
end,
soul fight, there's no
assuming
telling.
you can survive through all
It's
the
gonna be
rounds.
wild if they change that.
This ultimatum scarab of catalyzing will cause all rewards from that ultimatum to be catalysts, instead of other rewards. And finally, this ultimatum scarab of inscription will cause all catalyst rewards from that ultimatum to be inscribed ultimatums instead. There are plenty of others. If you enjoy divination card farming, you might want to use these. This divination scarab of curation causes more divination cards to drop for each different favored map you have
We're gonna have to
selected.
see the Delve scarabs because they
But
could
it
do
also
some really
causes
fucking
whatever
stuff.
map you're running to only drop divination cards from those favored maps. So if you want to try and aim for your mage blood and don't want to just farm Crimson Temple, then this scarab is for you. This divination
That's
scarab
pretty
of
cool.
completion causes your divination cards to have a 20% chance to drop as a full stack instead
That's
for
huge.
maximum dopamine.
Maximum
Basically, there are
dopamine.
now just a lot of
Oh,
scarabs.
Dude,
You
Look
might have
at all
also
those
noticed that
scarabs.
they no
Holy
longer have
shit.
tiers.
fucking wild.
Scarabs are now
didn't see
all
how many there
world
was for
drops.
Delve,
You
no.
can get them anywhere. Some might
World
be
drop
rarer than
scarabs.
others, but the intention
So
is
they
that there'll be
drop
a
more
lot
frequently.
options than before,
That's a buff.
and more interesting combinations to
Yeah.
consider. If you want to target specific scarabs, Betrayal has been updated to include most of them, and you will need to relearn which ones come from where. While this system is allowing you to heavily invest in one type of content, it is reducing your capacity for variety. To address this, we have massively increased access to content on the Atlas passive
That's a
tree.
big ass tree.
Looks like
You are
there's
now able
3
to
Delve
reliably get
scarabs.
Right.
different leagues like Breach or Legion from just your Atlas passives. Regarding master missions, content such as Incursion, Delve, Betrayal, and Bestiary, these too are now accessible with scarabs, and have more reliable investment options on the tree. Not
More
only
stuff
this,
on the tree?
you can now get Jun, Einhar, Alva, and Nico to appear
Yeah,
together in the
Neversing's
same
gonna
map.
have a
Yeah.
problem with all these items.
We have also removed some keystones such as Wandering
look at the two
Path,
scarabs
Grand
right there.
Design, and Growing Hordes.
Ooh,
But I've
they
added
get rid
some
of
new
Wandering
ones
Path.
too.
Oh, no
For
Wandering
example,
Path.
Unwavering Vision,
Grants 20
Back to
more skill
basics.
points.
80%.
and Thorough Exploration.
Oh, Affliction Wisps?
Affliction Wisps?
We have
Whoa!
added some new
Oh.
notables such as Remarkable Relics, which allows you to try find better variants of scarabs.
Damn. GGG's going
Mounting
wild
modifiers,
this league.
which increases the values of
shit.
modifiers on your maps by 2%.
So
for each
afflictions went
explicit
core.
modifier. And Tainted Carapaces, which is just one in a set of many that allow you to target farm specific types of
So,
scarabs.
Delve scarabs.
These are just a few of the
Yep.
many new notables that can be found on the Atlas passive skill tree.
It's gonna be Max and Dell
Lastly, we are
scouts.
giving you more flexibility in what content you want to run in the endgame. In 3.24, you can now have multiple
yeah.
copies of the Atlas
What?
tree,
Yeah.
which can be swapped between maps at
I
your
love
We can have a
this.
can
dedicated
unlock up
bossing
to 2
character
extra
Yep.
trees
Fuck
for
me.
totally
Atlas
free
awesome.
and a
by
dedicated
progressing
clear
through the
speed
endgame
build with a
and
separate
completing core
Atlas. I am
content.
excited.
Fuck
When you
yes.
open a
That's
map,
part
you
of the
can
pain in the
select
ass
which tree
before.
you would like to use.
I've been asking
For a
since
given
these
league,
passes
you'll never
got
feel
introduced for
constrained to
that.
playing your endgame a single way.
OPMF
You can also
trap.
label your trees to easily
Far
identify which
out.
one has which content. With all this
No, I'm not
combined,
punished
we're
for
hoping
doing
to see
build
new
variety.
endgame strategies shine through. While playing through the campaign in 3.24, you'll notice a myriad of small improvements and surprises.
Such a big league.
The fundamentals of the campaign are still intact, but we've scattered fun encounters and secrets throughout Rayclast. The Dweller of the Deep has been trapped. What are these ritual shrines doing in the Northern Forest? And why are they giving me
Oh, no.
omens?
There's gonna be so much.
This device looks safe. I should definitely use this on my items. There are
Rando double
plenty more
corruption
encounters to
chambers?
discover. We'll continue
Yeah.
adding more surprises in future releases, so keep an eye out. In the previous expansion, 3.23,
Here we
we
go.
released a
Here we
large
go.
number of transfigured skill gems. These are alternate versions of existing skill
Fallen
gems that
zombies.
function in very different ways, allowing for more build and gameplay
Please
variety.
more.
At the time, our aspirations were higher than we could achieve. We planned more gems than we could make. So, in 3.24, we're adding another set of transfigured gems that we have now finished. Ice Shot, Incinerate, Artillery Ballista, Tornado,
Oh no.
Elemental Hit, Kinetic Blast, Poisonous Concoction, And lastly, Summon Holy Relic.
Oh, that
Hopefully
could be
those of
cool.
you who missed your favorite skill having a transfigured variant will get that here. We will certainly be adding more of these in the future, especially for skills that are missing them still. Of course, we'll also be doing a balance pass on the existing transfigured gems. One of the main ones we're looking at is Kinetic Bolt of Fragmentation. As a result of this change, it is clear that the in-game potential of the Wander archetype really starts to suffer, mostly in the single target damage department. Due to this, we've added the new support gem, Sacred Wisps. This support gem causes supported skills to create 2 attached wisps for a duration. With these wisps, whenever you attack, they have a chance to also use the same skill if you have enemies in your presence.
That's
And if there are
awesome!
any rare or unique enemies, they will always use the skill. That leads us into all the other quality of life features we're introducing in 3.24, and there's a shitload of them. Many of these have been revealed in teasers already, but here's a quick summary. We've added the automation and call to arms skill gems, for being able to trigger instant skills and war cries without having to bind them to left click. You can now hold down Control and left click to automatically apply certain currency orbs until they achieve the desired result, or you run out. For example, you can hold down fusings until you reach maximum links. You will be able to control, shift, click currency into a trade window to automatically move all of that currency at once from your inventory. Detonate Dead now has clearer telegraphing effects.
Thank God.
About
When
time.
harvest crafting, the item hover will always be visible, so you no longer have to mouse back and forth to see the results of your crafts. When you use a Val Orb on a map, the map no longer has a chance to become unidentified. Instead, it adds a new implicit. We've created a set of implicits that affect the areas in fun ways. Related to that, corrupted and mirrored items can now be identified. Breach hands now open upon approach, and no longer need to be clicked.
It's crazy.
Upgrades to Pantheon powers now apply to all characters in a league. You no longer need to grind divine vessels on each new character. With harvest crafting, you can now re-roll Uber Elder fragments. Fragments dropped by the Shaper cannot be re-rolled into fragments dropped by the Elder, and vice versa. Regarding Betrayal, we're removing Ashling's crafting bench as a reward. Instead, Veiled Orbs now perform that function. They remove a mod and replace it with a Veiled mod. These orbs now drop from Katarina and are no longer a world drop. Flasks can now be corrupted by Val Orbs, giving random -10 to +10 quality. The capability to add extra quality to weapons, armors, and flasks.
See, they
has been
changed it
removed
to
from
maximum
the
resistances.
Betrayal bench craft that converts an amulet to a talisman has been moved to bestiary, and thus can be traded. Maven invitations no longer drop. Instead, when you have completed witnessing all bosses required to go to the Maven's arena, you can just talk to Kirak, and he'll open a map device window with the invitation already in there, ready to be rolled.
I like that.
Valdo's maps that granted invitations now give scarabs. No more having to waste Guardian kills to try get invitations
That's
to
awesome.
drop. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new League supporter packs.
I get my wallet out.
Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Solar and Eldritch packs. Each tier contains the full pack's face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Necropolis League, and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic, and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
So I can spend money this weekend.
The Solar series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Cosmos Weapon effect adorns your weapon with stars. Hitting enemies causes cosmic energy to spill out into the area around them. The Radiant Orb of Chance extra effect projects the outcome of items you've used an Orb of Chance on above your head. Remember to congratulate other exiles in town if you see them chance a powerful unique item. Shine boldly with the Solar Knight armor set.
That
The
looks
power
cool.
of the sun
That's
radiates
cool.
from your body, getting more and more intense as you use skills and emitting solar
Alright,
flares
that's
as you run. With the Supernova level up extra effect, the dead will be raised from the ground
That's
around
cool.
you before being
Supernova.
obliterated
Level
and turned
up
to ash
effect?
by an epic supernova
Yeah,
whenever you level
that's
up.
cool.
This one is my personal
Oh.
favorite. The Cosmic Turtle hideout lets you travel.
Oh my god, that's sick!
Off the back of a colossal
That's
turtle.
mad!
Carry the
Where's my
weight of the
wallet?
sun on your back.
Yeah,
with
that's
the
what I was
solar
like, where's my
guardian
wallet?
back
Hang on.
attachment. Witness
I'm
it grow
getting before
larger
George
and
does. Fuck
larger
that.
as the energy of
I was
slain
gonna buy a
enemies is
gun next
funneled
year,
into
but I
it.
guess I'm buying
When
this.
it reaches its maximum size, it goes supernova and turns into a black hole, forever drifting throughout Ray class.
Take my money.
The Eldritch Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. Are you wondering if we moved the stash in the latest patch? Don't be fooled, because with the Mimic Stash Pet, players can transform into an image of a stash when in a town or hideout and scare unsuspecting exiles. Behind you.
Oh my god, I want it! I want it! I want it!
Shaper's Slam finisher effect sends slain unique enemies into a
Oh my god.
Darkness.
The Eldritch Hunger armor set contains a beast that demands you defeat it by embracing your bloodlust. Watch it grow in power the more you kill until it bursts from the shell of the helmet. Are you able to satiate its hunger? The seed within the Corrupted Growth map
Absolutely.
device
I'm
expands
down.
its grasp on your
Eldritch
hideout,
horror-looking
the more maps
things
you
are just
complete
my
on your
favorite.
atlas. Equipping the Headhunter character effect causes skulls of slain rare enemies to whirl around you like trophies. They become enraged when you are near a rare enemy you are yet to kill, wishing for them to join your collection.
SRS players are gonna be
Witness a reality
confused
where the
as hell with
struggle
that.
didn't exist, allowing the Eldritch
That's kinda
Horrors
cool,
to
though.
settle their own conflicts with the Eldritch Horror
People are
Apparition
gonna
effect.
gamble using those things.
Which of the Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch do you think will win? These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile
Look at the
Necropolis.
price of these bad boys.
Meanwhile,
Just
the
gonna
Shade
buy 'em
and
both.
Disciple packs leave the store forever at the launch of Necropolis League. So
90
now's
bucks
your
for the
last
turtle.
chance to
Not
purchase
bad.
them.
It's pretty good.
Thank
Fucking
you
log
so
in, get
much
that
for your
shit done.
ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post Path of Exile Necropolis' full
Let's
patch
get ready.
notes. With release at the end of
So
next
much
week,
content
our
to
community
make
team will be
tonight.
posting crucial information you'll need for
gonna be
Necropolis'
busy.
release. Keep an eye on the
Better
news.
keep it 10 minutes, man.
On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and this season's Kerax Vault Pass.
Thanks for
Thank you
resub
for
flaws.
joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to doing some awesome gravecrafts and conquering the new in-game bosses with you next week. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
So league starters next week. So Easter weekend.
Next week?
starts in 1
Oh,
week.
there's so much content.
What day? Did they say what day?
It's always the
Week
Saturday.
after this.
It'll always be the Saturday in Australia, which would be what, the Friday in America?
Friday.
Yep.
Friday night, yeah.
So this weekend there'll be about 20 videos coming out on the channel. So much to unpack. It's so much.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson
There's
from
so
Grinding
much
Gear
stuff. I need to
Games.
change my pants, holy.
Good morning, Exiles, and welcome to our Q&A portion for today. I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark, and first thing, we're going to be talking about Path of Exile 1 questions. As I know that's the content that you'll be getting your hands on soon and hear all about.
Crazy
and then afterwards, we'll
fucking
follow
league.
up with a bit of a deep dive into
Mad.
Path of Exile 2 reveals, both from today and also some of the other stuff that came up during the
Hey,
recent
Georg, I
hands-on
just sent you a
event.
message on
But
Discord
good
there.
morning, Jonathan and Mark.
Hi.
How are you going?
Hey, really nice to be here again.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure. I love talking to you folks about
Yeah.
Path of Exile.
Log it.
So
That's
let's kick
right.
things
I
off
already
with
bought
the
the
new
fucking turtle.
league, Necropolis.
Far out.
And I just want to ask, should I ask about Lycia and Katarina and what it means for them to be involved, especially since they're like characters that are actively present elsewhere in the game in another mechanic right now? Like, what does that mean?
We bent the rules a little bit on that teaser. They're not actually involved. They're only in the sense that they are both T17 map bosses. So you don't actually fight them together, but we thought it would make a cool, little teaser shot there, and I think it did. It raised a lot of questions. So yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, we're just doing some timey-wimey stuff. Oh, they both kind of like deal with death, so there's a bit of a connection there.
Like when you get into maps, everything's all memories and the line gets a bit blurred. You can kind of do whatever you want, which is a good thing about that system. You don't have to stay so grounded and sensible. But so yeah, we do have some interesting encounters going on there that are a bit different. But you know, it's again, the maps allow us to kind of detach from the groundedness of the world and the rules of what's actually happening in there.
It looks like there's a lot of boss stuff coming this league. Is that all focused in the new T17 maps, or is there some with the league mechanic itself as well?
No, we focused the monster development this time around on the T17s instead of the league. So there's no new bosses in the league, but there are some reuse of monsters through like the All Flame Embers and whatnot, but not bosses. And then we put all our boss development towards creating these T17 bosses as well as the monsters. Like there are quite a lot of actual interesting monsters in the T17 maps as well. Like I don't know if people saw, but you can get Brutus as just a monster. Like he's not a boss. There are packs of Brutuses and various
I believe
throughout the non-notable ones, which will be quite interesting to see. You'll probably find a rare hasted Brutus is a whole different level compared to even the Brutus map boss and whatnot. So.
Yes, we experienced that last league in Affliction at launch. For those of us who encountered that boss. That was an experience, to be sure. So we'll kind of change my order of the day then with the tier 17 maps. So there's 4 of these, was there?
We've got 5 of them. We've got the Ziggurat map, Sanctuary map, Fortress map, Abomination map, and Citadel map being the 5.
And these are like effectively Uber maps, but we kind of also had Uber maps last league in a different way with the community made maps as well, but this is a whole different system, right?
This is different. Obviously the Valdo's maps come with a little bit more craziness going on. There are custom mod pools on these. And there is a little bit of overlap, but nowhere near as crazy. Like you're not going to roll the like mod that sends you to the Void League or anything like that. That's exclusive for those player-made ones. But yes, this is a new tier of difficulty. It is expected that they are hard for sure, but I'm sure some of your questions get into some of that. So
yeah,
I'll explain them as it comes.
So these are the primary vehicle now for getting like the Uber fight keys. What led to the decision to make them come from a tier 17 separate map thing like this instead of from the boss, which I guess was the more expected, like you would get an Uber Maven key from Maven?
Like, okay, like let's say it was from Shaper, and to get Uber Shaper, and you kill your Shaper, let's say it was even once every time, and now you kill your Uber Shaper, or let's say you fail, that's fine, but eventually you conquer it, you can kill it. It's not now fun to go back and do regular Shaper where clearly you can do the Uber version. Why are you bothering with the non-Uber version? So unless you want a specific drop from him, it's not fun to go back and just do like a clearly lower grade quality. So we instead went with it going a different way where we have something that is ideally in between those 2 points of difficulty and has random variance. Like you'll find that some of the tier 17 map bosses with certain mod combinations are probably even harder than the Uber Pinnacles, depending on your character and all of those variables there. I wouldn't say that's going to happen entirely consistently. Like it'll be occasionally the case, but it certainly isn't fun to just be like, in order to do Uber Shaper, I have to do this content that I have clearly proven capable of doing, and just repeating that over and over.
I see, yeah. So it's for the people who want to farm their own ones. They're doing content that is up to their challenge level, basically, because the regular boss wouldn't be anywhere near that.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Right on. How do you get the tier 17 maps, though?
So the tier 17 maps, when you get more Void Stones, it has a chance to convert T16 maps that drop. The more Void Stones you get, it becomes multiplicatively higher. But there is a kind of diminishing returns on that. So it is quite probable to convert T16 maps like the first one, and then as you get more T17s, it becomes less and less and less. And the reason we did that is obviously the discrepancy between just running regular T16s and obviously top tier juicing. You end up with like, the multiplier difference of the amount of T16s dropping is substantial to say the least. And we didn't want it to be that we have to balance around the juicing with respect to getting T17s. We wanted to be that more accessible across the board. And so, yes, we added a kind of diminishing return. So like your first one might be quite probable, the next one's less, and the next one less. And then you're not going to get like, 20 T17s in one map kind of thing going on.
Right.
It is also worth noting T17s cannot drop T17s. They are not self-sustaining. The intention is that you are still kind of doing T16s and occasionally diving into T17s, unless you want to trade, of course, in which case, the world's your oyster.
So I saw they have their own new mod pool, and we saw things. One of the mods I saw was Rare Monsters remove 10% life, mana, and ES on hit. The mana removed on hit seems to break a lot of builds in particular whenever that sort of thing comes up, as mana is generally a pretty finely tuned system in Path of Exile. And it gets me thinking in general about mods like 80% reduced recovery and things that disable auras and stuff like that. And it feels just a bit not too dissimilar to monsters just being immune to your build, right? So what's the intention behind those sorts of modifiers in maps?
It certainly was the ideal dream back when, that there are a lot of modifiers that can't be done by every build and you'd re-roll them and whatnot. Now, obviously, in the context of T17s, you can't re-roll them. So this really is, you should either change your playstyle, take your time, be a bit more careful to do it, or you can trade it away, of course, or maybe you simply can't run it on that character and you have to maybe build a different character that is capable of or more characters that are capable of doing different maps. There is one tool, though, that is in the form of a scarab. One of the scarabs gives you additional crafting modifiers on your map device. It isn't a common scarab by any means. You can't just use it on every T17. But two of the extra crafting mods that get applied to the map device is that prefixes are disabled and suffixes are disabled. So you can pick one of those. So if you do get one of these T17s, I do expect sometimes, and you're like, I can't run it because of this modifier, you can at least use that scarab to turn that off occasionally. So it is like one of the tools that you can use to get around certain mods that it might be too hard or you can't quite get through. But the general idea is that you do have to actually think about these modifiers, play around them, change your characters. It's not just a kind of like, well, you don't have to alch them, they drop rolled, but it shouldn't just be a T17 as mindless go in there and do it. Unless, of course, your build is so strong and so diverse that it can do that, which that's fine. If you want to build your character that way, then that's what the game allows you to do, and that's what we like. So,
right on. We'll jump back to the league a little bit before we move on to some of the other end game questions that I have. But what you're doing with the difficulty control for Necropolis, where you can select which monsters get buffed in which ways, seems like a lot of what people have been asking for, especially with Afflictions launch, where we didn't have as precise control over the difficulty of content we were facing. That said, how do you weigh up giving this level of control against things like adding to the time it takes to jump into the gameplay? I saw that this is going to take a bit of time to read through those things and shuffle the menu each zone.
So obviously we like giving control. But yes, in this league, you cannot skip the difficulty. Having the control is a way to make it easier or harder if you want. But you cannot skip it. If you just enter the area and you don't interact with the lantern, you'll get whatever randomly generates. So you don't have to, I'd say throughout the campaign, it is going to be harder by not engaging with it, but you don't have to engage with the league in the sense of interacting with that UI. But you will have to deal with the fact that some monsters are harder. So this is a rare league where in this case, you can't really skip it, which isn't something we do a lot. But occasionally we get back into that and try it out. Now, that being said, yes, obviously we like difficulty, being able to manipulate the difficulty. And I think it is, and obviously the rewards as well. Now, it just needs to be the case that it is worth your time from a reward standpoint, engaging with that. If that isn't the case, we have failed. It obviously should be worth your time from a reward point to go, oh, awesome, I got this thing, I need to put it on some XP, I need to put it on this pack, or you get the pack spawns Torment Spirits on death, I need to make sure it's on this pack. There are certainly lots of positive mods that, or spawning lesser shrines, right? If you put that on a very rare pack, you're not going to get very many of them. If you put it on a common pack, all of a sudden you're going to have a whole bunch of shrine buffs throughout the area, which in turn also makes it easier. So not only does this league make it harder, it also makes it easier in some ways. Now, one thing you said, talking about the time, obviously when you get to end game, which for every map, you do get presented with that UI, but because we have added the nodes on the Atlas tree for Necropolis, we have added a keystone that allows you to...
A lot of people...
effectively, what it says is the mods are applied randomly, and there are more mods, so it is harder and it is more rewarding.
See, I'm just not a huge
in
fan of
some
being
senses,
forced
but
to
you
play
then
league
don't get to
mechanics. There's no
customize it.
telling
But if
whether or
someone
not
is
this
like,
might
oh,
be
I don't
balanced
want to have to
properly or
deal
not.
with interacting with that between my
it's
maps,
a little bit...
you can just run the map and it will randomly do it. And like that isn't
It'll
necessarily
make
to
it- I
say
mean,
that
if
that's
they're
better
gonna
or
do this,
worse.
they
It's
should
just
give
one
us
of the
one of
ways
those
someone can
small
customize
Atlas
their
passes
experience
that let
here.
us just turn off the league
But yeah, so
mechanics.
through the campaign, you don't have to use the UI, but it will probably be harder and less rewarding. So you should be wanting to do it, unless of course you just want to get to end game. Go for it. And at end game, if you want to invest in the keystone, you can skip
think the whole
doing it
point
on the maps themselves.
they're
If you
gonna want
again
you
don't want to
to
have to
collect
deal
a
with
bunch
it.
of
So
corpses throughout the
ideally, we've
campaign,
given
so when you finally
you know the
finish it,
choice
you can
here
do
to
some
do both
crafts.
versions and play the way
I think
you
that
want to
might
play.
be like a subversion.
I think that's really
Well, yeah,
clever
but the
using
thing is
the
that
Atlas
every
passive
single
tree as
zone
like
you
a
go into,
tool to be
you
able to
have
customize
to
that
deal
league
with that
experience now.
menu,
To the point where I'm
and then
surprised
the
it hasn't happened
empowered
before, right?
monsters.
But it makes
It was
sense if it's unavoidable.
actually we were talking about trying to
Speedrunners
find
in
a way, and
shambles.
we were talking about like checkboxes and all that, and it's all just a little bit inelegant. And
There's no
it
way
was
these
actually
minions
a
are being that
suggestion
hard.
of one
It's
of
gonna be
the
a joke.
programmers was like we could do a keystone, and they were like, hey, we never actually do tree support for the current league.
Thanks for
Like,
follow,
it's
Jack.
just not even a thing that we've really considered. And from there, we're like, wait, we should just do this. Like, of course we should do this. Like, this is going to be fun and allow people to do different strategies, and like, why not? So I think it is a good addition. We'll see how it actually plays, because it's the first time we're doing it, and then we may continue doing it for future leagues, or maybe it was just it's terrible. We'll see, and we'll not do it again. Well, who knows? I mean, we think it's cool here, but you know, we're not always right.
All right. So in the campaign, the monsters you kill in one zone affect what happens in the next zone, like the amount of devoted monsters modifiers that show up. And this is the first time I recall seeing a league like this where what you do in one affects like kind of the next zone like that. Does it work on like any next zone you enter, even like a zone reset of the same zone or somewhere in a different act or something?
No. So this doesn't. The league actually isn't customizable when accessing through waypoint through the world map.
Oh.
Which is bit different. I mean, you might think, oh, but my blood aqueduct farming, and yeah, sure, you can still do it technically by farming from town, but we're also like, you know, not that I know how many people even still do that outside of like, you know, SSF tabular farming, which I still don't even know if necessarily is a strategy.
Yeah, it is.
But either way, yes, farming the same zone over and over is not really embraced in this league. The difficulty will still be there, but you won't be able to customize the mods, and you won't get devoted mods either. So it's more for like, you know, the linear playthrough when you're going through. So
Souls
the way it
Quarry.
works, the way it works effectively is like the more haunted monsters you kill, the more likely you will get devoted modifiers. It's a campaign-only feature. It doesn't happen in maps. Maps are completely randomly generated per item.
Okay.
So it's an interesting way where it works a little bit differently in the campaign than maps, which I think is interesting. I kind of like having subtle differences there.
While you're
and yeah, the more haunted monsters you kill, the more likely you are to get devoted
Yeah, 'cause
monsters.
you can run
And this
into
is actually a
that,
reward
one
for
guy
why
that
you want to make it hard.
guarantees a single
Because if
unit.
let's just using mudflats as the example,
cool to get a
if
caveat
you
out your
put
first, like,
I'm
run
still
or
all the
whatever.
hard,
not a
if you
fan
have
of
say
being
2 out of 4
forced
of
to
the
interact
packs or
with a
however many
mechanic,
packs there
'cause
are,
if it's
have
unbalanced, like the
haunted
wisps,
mods,
there's no telling
you
how rough it's going to be.
might want to
Right.
say, I'm going to make that easier and put them on the zombies and
But
water
what is
elementals.
nice is,
but those are the
yeah,
least
you know,
common monsters in that area, and
first league
thus you are
starter
less
now,
likely to now get
right?
devoted modifiers
You don't have to wait
to
around
appear when
until,
transitioning into either
level
fetid
80,
pool
90
or
before you get the tabula. Now you can just
submerged
probably
passage.
get one at like
So
level 20 or something.
you actually have an
by the time you get
incentive to
active.
put them on the
global pools or the
rowers
item level restrictions,
and
'cause if
the
it
other
does,
pack of
you can
rowers
target
because they
farm it
are
in the
like the
first zone.
dominant monster in that area.
How
Which is
clear
kind of
this?
interesting. So
Because you
again,
just
like
zone in,
there
zone
are
out, zone
pros
in,
and
zone
many
out,
pros
right?
and
So-
cons to
Yeah,
controlling the
just sit in
difficulty and
the
rewards.
in the first area of the coast.
And then yeah, when you
run the
click the
mechanic
next
over and over
when
again
you
until he
next peer through the
spawns.
lantern,
And
it'll
if
like
he's
show which
limited
mods
by
you've
the
got.
eye level pool, you know, there's only so many things that can drop
yeah,
eye level
hopefully
3
you get
and
as
below.
many good ones as you can. But also the other thing, just while we're on that topic, of the other reason why it's actually sometimes good to make things harder, in some sense. There's so many axes here that it's more like you want as many monsters as possible haunted by as many high tier things as possible. Is that the haunted monsters are the ones that can turn into the ones that you collect for crafting. So again, if you want to maximize your crafting output, you want to be putting the haunted modifiers of the highest tiers on the packs that have the highest density and pack size. So again, going into mudflats as the example, you want to have the rowers do that if you want to maximize your crafting output. So there are 2 axes and rewards for why you want to be making things harder. But often what I would say people are probably going to be like, I'm going to make things a bit easier to start with as they get more comfortable with their character. As their character gets more powerful, they start to take a little bit more risks in that regard. And of course, if it becomes too hard and they over make it too hard for themselves, the mods rotate pretty frequently, like to the point of you like running through an area. The next time if you then had to recreate that area, because you're like, nah, I've made it too hard. The mods will be have rotated, and you can adapt your decisions and be like, yeah, this is easier for me now. I'll wait a few more areas or some more levels until I then raise the difficulty again.
So how clearly is that like reward system communicated in the UI? Can like someone who hasn't like watched this know that, you know, killing more of these monsters will give more devoted to the next zone and stuff like that?
That isn't currently communicated, but it will be. You probably didn't see it in the live stream, but we will do that. At least on the hovers, when you hover over and it just says devoted, we will put like a little, you know, like, well, we'll put it on the hovers of all the like tier things where it says like, you know, servant haunted, noble haunted, etc. Currently, I think it says something, but I can't remember what. But yeah, we'll do a you know, a pass on making things more observable and all of that.
It's actually kind of interesting on that point that this is the first time in PoE where you have information about what is in a zone and what the pack compositions are, and like just information about monsters. And there's just information generally there about like what monsters do and so on, which is kind of not really something we've ever really done before. So this UI actually sort of provides that, and it'll be interesting to see like whether that's actually useful and like whether we want to think about how we might communicate that again in the future, because like all that's now sort of a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I got really excited actually when I saw that. I was like, oh, we can actually see what their abilities are and damage types and stuff like that. I was like,
there's along that note, there's quite an interesting feature in maps that because maps have uniform density distribution of packs. So generally in a map you're going to have like I think it's 5 packs or whatever, and you're going to have 20. It's generally going to be that there's 20% of the map as each pack. So in maps, there are these extra little symbols, which I don't think were in the live stream that we've kind of added in more recently, which are variants. So sometimes a certain pack is going to have higher like pack size or mod effect or density, and there'll be these kind of up and down arrows to kind of show like this pack's going to be more common and this one's going to be less common and stuff like that, just to add that variance so that those variables can still play a role in when interacting with the modifiers. Otherwise, it would just be like, you know, oh, here's porcupines, I'll do X, and then 90% of packs you probably wouldn't care too much about. So we've added extra variables to make it that the packs and maps, you know, are a bit, you know, have more influence on your decisions. That being said, when you get into tier 17 and you will have a pack of Brutuses, you might actually think
a pack of Brutuses.
You're talking about your up and down arrows there. Maybe realize what the next league is going to be. Monster stock market investing. It's there. It's ready for you.
Yeah, delve build should be pretty good, Valkyrie.
So I'm going to go off topic a little bit here and answer a chanted question in chat so that we can get back on track. So we 1 sec. There we go. So you've been flooding us with a lot of great quality of life updates in the lead up to this release. It's like some spring cleaning is going on right now, which I love to see. That's at least one of them seems to have missed the mark, which is the automation change and the resulting removal of the ability to bind instant skills to left click movement. So having your steel skin on left click and having an auto cast that way. So this seems to be a pretty unpopular change. And I just want to ask you guys, why do you feel like that is? Why is it so unpopular?
Well, there's I'll go into a few things here, but yes, obviously missed the mark on this one. As I said, we're not always right. Bit of a disaster.
No,
I do, however, think this is solving some good things the way we've done it. But the problem is it hasn't obviously solved it entirely. And going from a bad solution to a bad solution, at least from our perspective, is not what we should be doing.
Revert it.
So we will make further changes. I just don't know exactly when and to what degree.
You can keep the automation, Jim. It works for what it works
discussions
for.
Going
but please,
on. So
revert the left mouse button.
To get into some details there,
no.
I do believe that it is beneficial now that it is a more observable mechanic, a less like hidden specialized mechanic of, you know, like you can follow a build guide and you can see, oh, this person's using this instant skill. But at no point does a user necessarily know they should randomly, unintuitively bind it to left click to have it auto cast.
The way that was before was just, I think, like more than anything, it just felt like such a strange like why should this even be a thing? Kind of, it was kind of almost exploiting a quirk in just the way that our input system was, rather than really
but,
being
like,
like an actual
all
mechanic we
builds use
decided
it.
to exist. I think that was probably
A
where
good
we started to
build
feel
del-
like,
uh,
oh,
Just
you know,
for
this
build
better.
creator will tell you that anyway.
because I remember when I was discussing with Mark, and I was kind of like, this really, like,
You can't
if you
even
tell a new
use
user about
automation
this
on, like,
thing
so
and the
many
way that it
skills, it's
works and why
stupid.
it is the way that it is, it's kind of like, this just sounds so dumb. And that's kind of why we were kind of sort of keen to change it. But on the other hand, I guess the problem, well, yeah, I mean, ultimately the issue there is that, you know, the solution is a reduction in character power due to the fact
But
that you
the
need to have an
problem is
extra
the skills
support
that
socket,
can't be
and
automated.
you know, without compensation, that obviously feels really bad. So
Well,
yeah,
I do stand by the, like, being able to have it trigger while stationary is an advantage, and being able to use multiple is an advantage. But of course, then we talk about more into socket pressure, right? Using multiple, unless you were already using multiple, you know, isn't reasonable for most characters. So, and we can talk about all kinds of, like, what the actual solutions would be, but effectively, from my perspective, I come down to, if these things are just becoming passive skills, then
Okay,
why are they
change them
not
to
just
passive
passive skills?
skills.
That's what I've kind of come to recently. Like, we should probably take all of these, make them, like, how is, say, Time of Need not different from Steel Skin? I understand one of them is regeneration and one of them is mitigation, but in the sense that, like, effectively what we're saying Steel Skin, Molten Shell, etc. is now every 10 seconds do something for Y seconds, which is exactly what a lot of our passives do. And so I was just thinking, like, we could move a lot of these into passives, and
Wait,
then what we could
it's not
do is
done yet.
actually take what we
Okay.
originally intended for those skills and design awesome skills that are, because they were intended to be reactionary. And it'd be nice to actually design some stuff that is useful for that. Now, obviously, that's a longer
fact is a lot
discussion
of stuff
designing the
happens
specifics of
too
all the
quickly
skills.
to
But
do
there are also some
reactionary
objective
skills.
problems
Exactly.
and balance problems that did happen
That's
from this
why
outside of
we
socket
need
pressure.
so many layers
And I can at
that
least
are
cover
up
some of them
passively.
now. So I'll start with, okay, General's Cry. Obviously nerfed by this, right? It isn't nerfed if you were to use it manually. It is nerfed automated. And when you look at
If
it, no one's
everyone's
using it
using it, that's
manually.
because it
Everyone's using it
works.
automated. And
So
when I say
why
everyone,
remove
I
it?
obviously mean, you know, the majority of people. So we are buffing General's Cry, and we are doing some other things Warcry adjacent, like I think there's some inconsistencies on a bunch of unique items which have, like, casting a Warcry and using a Warcry, and we're making that more consistent, so that more things work in that regard. But there's heaps of little nitty gritty details there. Patch notes will hopefully clarify all that. Now, then there's mines, which is a big one. Now, mine playstyle, aside from the annoying having it on left click, it going like tink, 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 tink the whole time, and that just being irritating. It is certainly the case that when it is triggering all the time with a support gem, obviously, if you now want to have the playstyle of throwing heaps of mines and then moving to detonate them all at once, which is how mines are meant to be played, you could do that before, and now you can't. So to change that, we've added a mastery for mines, which does the exact same behavior as before, which the mastery says your mines will detonate every X milliseconds while moving, and it will occur the moment you start moving from a stationary position.
Okay, what about the other 4 or 5 skills that require left mouse
Now,
button?
the other third one I'll get into here is, I guess, Bone Armor from Necromancer.
Yep.
So, goodbye Bone Armor. And we have redesigned some of the nodes around there. So, what have we changed? I'll see if I can remember all the details here.
The left mouse button.
I think it's Mindless Aggression.
Mindless
All these
Aggression.
notables are going to probably get renamed
Holy
due
crap,
to
you
the theme
guys are
change,
giving
but I'll use
yourselves
the old names
aneurysms
just
trying
because
to
that's what
figure this
everyone will
out.
know.
Just revert it.
So Mindless Aggression is
This is such a roundabout
now
way of just
multiplicative
making one
10%
basic
more minion
change.
It's like,
damage
here,
and
let's put in
multiplicative
about fucking
20% more
30
minion
lines
life.
of spaghetti code
Instead
to
of the
fix a problem
increased
we made
damage and
ourselves.
increased speed. This is possibly worse as a 2-pointer at like level 30, but in-game far, far, far superior in terms of actual damage output. You could argue it's slightly worse with Spiritual Aid, but I think that loss is ultimately inconsequential with the other changes here. Then there's the 4-pointer Bone Barrier, which we are going to keep the PDR stat and the what we're doing is we're removing Bone Armor and we're adding a large amount of minion life is added as extra energy shield, which will increase the minion survivability for the amount lost by Bone Armor. So that should provide a good
Last time you guys
mitigation
touched
against like
minions
obviously with the
defensively,
mechanic
you
of energy
screwed
shield
them all to high
recharging,
L, and
it'll
Gazzy
help a
hasn't
lot
had an
towards your
aneurysm.
minions. Like they
What are
take
you
a
on
bit
about?
of pit of damage and then they have some time to get it back, and it's not foolproof, but that's fine. What you have lost is obviously the bleed removal from them. Deal with it is my answer on that one.
Jesus Christ.
What we actually did find,
get
by the way, is a
over it.
lot of necromancers weren't actually using bone armor, and a lot were just using molten shell anyway. So I don't know
get
how
good.
much of that is actually lost. And I know this is a bit of a rant, but I'll just keep going because again, people want to know about these changes. What else did we change there? We also
One more thing. Did you change the leech thing, or is that?
Yeah, so there is a. Oh, I don't want to misremember exactly. I'll go into the Unholy Might thing first. So Unholy Might, we're actually changing what Unholy Might does, which is better for summoners in some regards, but more so poison summoners, and better for everyone else in many regards. So Unholy Might now is 100% of physical converted to chaos, as well as I think it's 25% chance to apply Wither on hit.
That's
so hopefully
pretty
that
good.
is enabling a lot more different unique items, and obviously Sin's Rebirth and all of that throughout the game. But also poison summoners, in theory, don't also now have to use a Wither setup, and so they get some gems there, I suppose. But that's not exactly necessarily going to be a meta build.
That's what he thinks.
But we have changed Extractor Mentis because that gave permanent Unholy Might to monsters, and that means that with CI now you will have a physical and chaos immunity against monsters, and that was a little bit busted. Bone Flask shenanigans. So anyway, that's been adjusted, and
could have abused that.
I can't remember. We were experimenting with some leech. I can't remember if we stuck with it, but I think we had a 1% of damage dealt by minions is leached to you as life, replacing the recovery on Bone Barrier as well, which should account for a lot more incoming life recovery. I will double check that and I will post that afterwards just in case, because we went through like 50 iterations here and we're at somewhere. So that leaves one major problem, which is the socket pressure, especially on summoners. And we are actively discussing solutions to that one. I think where we are currently landing is that we want to have corruption implicits possibly on all the different minion base types. So Bone Ring, the Bone Shields, and the minion weapons, which grant various different skills like Convocation, the Offerings, Desecrate. I know a lot of people end up just auto-casting Desecrate and Offerings with the wand, but for people who don't have that's good. And at the very least, generally Convocation is unlinked. We might even do the Golem skills as corruptions too. I'm a bit iffy on that one, so I know generally I shouldn't say things that we're not definitely doing, but I'm just speaking freely on that one. So hopefully that is at least a temporary solution to alleviate some socket pressure, but we probably do need to do more. But doing more in the next week is, probably kind of hard. So I would look forward to hopefully seeing more of that in the future. But that's where we're at with that pretty much. Big rant.
It's like this automation change kind of revealed just how much of a very potent band-aid the left-click automation was, because it's opened up this whole can of worms of being like, well, it's exposed how these skills designs are all a bit problematic. These ones that encourage you to have them just up all the time, cast off cooldown. These are things that potentially need to be readdressed, right?
For sure. This does happen a lot. Even if you look at the Pantheon change, which was one of the first quality of life things we announced, it's like, well, we're going to change this Pantheon thing. Surely that's good for everyone, not having to redo. And then all of a sudden it's like, but now I don't want to always have chill effect on and all this. And we're just looking at these things going, Pantheons equals positive buffs. But then there are all these niche builds and Johnny builds that end up with taking these upsides and turning them into, they become downsides. And so now we have to adapt another thing. Often what happens is we change a system that we entirely think is positive. And yes, either because we've not given it enough time internally, or because, again, it's very hard for even 100 people to find things as quickly and as actively as the many hundreds of thousands of people. And so, we find that there are things we then need to do afterwards to fix. So obviously, we address the Pantheon thing by allowing you on a character-by-character basis to then disable and enable the Pantheon upgrades to fix a bunch of niche builds. But with the gamers, like expansive as Path of Exile with all the millions of different builds, it is pretty hard to change anything without affecting something. And in this case, it was just we made a change that affected a lot more than we had
Like
originally
every
thought about.
single build in the
And
game.
yeah, we're doing a lot of solutions here, but there is certainly need for a much grander solution when it comes to that left click thing. But I think where we're at right now is probably pretty good. I am never ever going to be happy with the fact anyone feels like they need to do some sort of numlock shenanigans or whatever the crazy strategies are. That is not okay, and as such, we need to. If that is still happening, we need to still fix more.
Yeah, yeah. When there's like one of these things where you change something,
Thanks for following, Michael.
It's like this will be good once we get these other things implemented down the line. Do you feel compelled to maybe like hold off on the change until you can get it all done at once?
Well, I think sometimes, but I think in this case, I think the lesser evil has been met, and I think that it is worth sticking to this one, especially with us fixing all those actual objective problems with the balance and actual nerfs that occurred as a result of it. Sure, not every single use case is covered, but I think the other ones are nowhere near as consequential. And I do think it will actually play relatively well. But yeah, in some cases, I'm sitting there like, okay, do we revert that or do we, aim to get all the fixes in? We're generally pretty fast with reacting to things like this. We generally can make changes pretty quickly.
Yeah, Flora, it's live.
But yeah, it is a hard decision to make for sure. Like you definitely lose sleep over that one. But like that's what we do, and often as like it's actually responding to this one has actually been fun in at least a development sense because it is promoting a bunch of these other changes that have been like honestly needed for a while.
Yeah.
Like especially when it comes to the socket pressure thing, like it is honestly unacceptable that we have not really addressed that in quite some time. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I can't promise by the end of next week we have the right answer, and I can't promise we're necessarily going to do something, but it is certainly something we are actively going to we have been actively discussing, and will continue actively discussing the moment this live stream is finished.
Just revert it.
Yeah, like I said, it was such an effective band-aid that like ripping it off now has like allowed you to kind of get to the meat of some of these problems. Which I'm excited to see what you do with these like skills that are all have this design where they were just
part of it was like
hopefully we get some much more interesting
from
skills
like a
out of it down the
player
line.
perspective, I can see
I
why
agree.
they changed
I mean,
it,
already
right?
I have a
Because
lot of
I don't
cool
play on
ideas. It's just a matter of now finding the resources to get them all in and whatnot.
No, I'm talking about left click because.
So
like,
since we're on the quality of life topic, something that bugged me quite a bit lately is getting attacked while talking to NPCs, especially in Affliction. I didn't end up getting through all the lore because I'm constantly getting attacked. But in the preview footage, I even noticed, I don't know if you ended up using a different version, but the player had the issue of talking to the Nameless Seer and getting attacked by a mob. Have you guys considered using pause tech to pause the game during NPC conversations when you're otherwise defenseless, or maybe other solutions like making you untargetable during dialogue?
I would say yes, at least in the especially in the context of PoE 2, which does have pausing.
Is there any actual reason we can't add pausing to PoE 1?
Oh, he's doing it again.
Probably not.
Like I know it's kind of been one of those things that we've sorry. It's one of those things that like we kind of did, and then we're like, well, I don't know. I'd have to talk to Reese and find out what limitations there were. We certainly were scared by it when we first added it. It was like, this is going to break so much shit, but then it didn't really in PoE 2, so maybe it will.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't see any obvious reason why it wouldn't be able to be ported over. Relative, you never know. There'll be something, but it's probably something we can work around.
Right.
I mean,
the thing that does suck a little bit about pausing during NPC conversations, though, is that there's various triggers that occur, and so it won't. If we just enabled it like that, like it would break stuff like the Fairgraves quest, and like things like that. Like there are some things that would break if we did that immediately, but like it's the kind of thing
we would have to find a way to be able to pause, or like opt into pausing on some and not on others.
There's also the question of other people in the zone, as well. Like there's like a ton of random things that would probably.
The way our pausing works right now is everyone has to have opted into a pause for it to be paused. So, but I mean, technically in multiplayer, if you're in proximity like that, you can just be like, defend me to your friend, I suppose. But they might just run off and start trying to loot some stuff and leave you to die. But yeah, I guess the counter argument is like, what about things like having safe zones around NPCs? And I would say that I have yet to find many games that don't end up just having exploitative cases around that. And that would be a lot more actual work, you know.
What about the untargetable buff on the player while they're talking to the NPC?
But it's the whole like I'm in a map and Alva's there and like, oh no, I'm gonna die or something, or like I just want to reprieve and I just go and like click Alva and then I'm like, oh phew, I'm safe now, and then I get
in a world where people can log out, how is that like problematic?
I mean, you're not wrong, but it feels like, well, at least logging out has a cost to the portal, right? Like, I mean, it isn't quite the same.
Disable Alt F4.
But in the sense that, like, it feels exploitative, whereas logging out does not. Like, it feels like I'm cheesing some mechanic that's unintended for that. Like, I wouldn't want to do a solution that
I
feels like
I counter argue that comment because I think logging out feels exploitative. Whereas
I know
if
you
you're talking to an
mean.
NPC who protects you with a bubble because they have NPC magic, I'm like, that seems like an in-game thing. Like that seems reasonable.
I buy that, but also logging out in PoE 2, of course, will log you right back into
yeah,
where you
like,
were.
don't, be careful now because you're going to get us talking into changing how logout works.
Yep.
I have to say, after the hands-on with PoE 2, I love the pausing and the reconnecting you exactly where you were when if the game crashes or something. So
Yeah. Which turned out to be very beneficial during the test we just did, considering the number of crashes there still were in the build. But
it happens.
at least you could log back into exactly where you were and just continue.
It certainly helped.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Something
there will be a solution to your problem, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And pausing might be one of them. And otherwise, we'll engineer and come up with design some other solution. Like there will be something. But yes, it has come up quite a bit recently, just because of the scope of PoE 2. And generally, when we're discussing that stuff, we do also think, well, if this is a problem in PoE 1 as well, like what are we doing? Like let's fix it. So it'll happen at some point.
Sweet. Before we go back to the league, we'll talk about the other kind of quality of life related thing, which was the announcement of the Ashling crafting change. So we've been wanting itemized Ashling crafts for quite some time, which is pretty awesome that we're getting that now. But it seems strange to me that it was at the cost of the current Veiled Orb Chaos style effect. That especially was a really nice like mid-level entry crafting option for a lot of players. So to have that removed seems like quite the bummer, as you had the the more random but more accessible version versus Ashling's much more deterministic but more expensive, more costly version. So why did you get rid of the regular Veiled effect?
I mean, I wouldn't say the intention's to just get rid of things, but I also kind of don't see it as a loss to be able to kind of where possible, not retain every single little crafting thing. I would say that the crafting is, at this point, like quite bloated in a sense of like, it is quite hard for someone who isn't reading into and studying profusely to figure out exactly how to craft the best item. And that's not necessarily a problem, but taking the opportunities to remove something that is honestly just bloat at some points is a win, especially if we can find a way to bring it back into the game a different way that feels a bit more core and fundamental. And maybe you'll find that with, say, the Necropolis crafting system.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that is, in theory, a start to end game meant to be crafting. You can do crazy stuff at the end. You can do really simple stuff mid game, early game. And then obviously when we then go to say, is this coming core? Like, how do we want to do it? If we want to do it, maybe it's absolutely busted in so many ways that we don't want to, we'll see. But there's always more crafting things we're adding. Like you don't have a shortage of different crafting things in the game. Like it's certainly a little bit out of control in a good way and in sometimes a bad way. And more are going to come. So I wouldn't worry about losing something like that in the short term, especially when, you only need to wait a league or two for things like that to come back. And there are always just so many other ways to craft your items. I don't think losing that is ultimately fundamental. And the win of having, obviously, it be tradable is huge. I am very much trying my best to get around as many of the, services as opposed to trades. We're doing a lot
100%.
As much as possible. Like I eventually want to make sure we add a thing where for even mirroring items, even though that's like the nichest of the niche in the game, we're talking
They're trying to attack
TFT
by the looks of that
I do
comment.
want it to be that, there is a way that you can do that without having to trade your item to someone. So there are a few designs there even, and hopefully we will eventually get rid of as much of that as possible, especially when it comes to trusting someone with your item. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I had a look at the
So
website
yeah, we'll
just then. It's
hopefully
crazy.
work around. But you know, obviously, like services like
The
boss
new
kills and
gems
all
look
of that,
really
there's
good
not really
too.
a lot you can do about that. That's completely fine. But when it comes to actually like loaning someone your item, I'm certainly not kind of in favor of that thing. And so yeah, hopefully we can see the removal of the rest of those in due time. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm super keen on those changes. So if the thinking is to kind of like slim down on some bloat, I certainly don't disagree that like the crafting system might have like a bit much going on. I think in this particular instance, the reason why you've seen this reaction to it is this particular one little aspect of bloat. It was actually kind of like used in almost every mid-level craft, so it feels a little bit jarring to see it removed, I guess.
Fair enough, and I guess the answer there is Necropolis will provide one of the most in-depth crafting systems we ever have, and you could argue about Standard League, but I mean, you know, my answer again there is deal with it, and then later on there will be more crafting systems and more new things and more interesting things. So.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm super excited about the Necropolis crafting. It was stoked. The thing I said after last league, I was like, you guys have to do like some sort of crafting league this time. I feel like it's the only answer to like the whiplash of previous league. So let's talk a bit about that actually. So Affliction was a lot of people's potential favorite league, maybe mine. It was certainly extremely rewarding.
Like, it was a good league,
Why do you
but
think it was
definitely not
so
my
popular?
favorite.
And were you worried about kind of like coming into this league after that? The correction, effectively.
Why do we think it was so popular? I mean, obviously, at the start, it kind of wasn't in so many ways. It was certainly too difficult. We certainly messed up a bit there. Once things were kind of fixed and once people kind of got their heads around, or around the difficulty of the character builds to handle the difficulty, yes, it became Magic Find Ruckus League. Why was it popular? I mean, it was different. It's not something we had done before in so many regards. It was using new art, and obviously it had bosses, it had all of the stuff. It had so many different kind of reward arcs and existing old ones put into it, like the omens and all kinds of little things. It just had heaps of little detail. The ascendancy classes. I mean, people like that, but ultimately, yes, we can just go to the Magic Find. I'll tell you, I've never had that experience before. I've never, been to the point where, well, not quite like this, where really it feels like the only thing left on the filter is unique leather belts and unique heavy belts and a couple other things, and there's still too many belts to try, and you're still just like, oh my god, there are freaking belts everywhere.
It was a bit too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit.
Even just from a server perspective, the level of the number of players we could get on a server per server this league was much lower than it has been before, and even that was started to become a bit of a problem.
So the primary issue there is actually what happens is when monsters stay alive longer, because Affliction was making things last live longer, they are getting hit more, and when a monster is alive, they cost more than when they're dead. And so the moment, and then obviously when you've got a Stygian Spires spewing out 700 monsters a second, combined with the 50% increased attack speed, soul eaters, and all of that, you are nothing can survive that level of absolute mayhem, as in hardware wise. But yes, there is going to be a bit of a detox to some degree. But on the other hand, we have changed a lot in the end game to the point where hopefully the meta is so different that it kind of just feels a little bit different as opposed to necessarily like less or worse. There is one other change I'll talk about, and I'm keen for people's feedback. So one problem that we kind of have is that the amount of obviously if you were to farm Mage Bloods, Headhunters, etc. via divination cards, there is a somewhat reliable way to get that. You get your doctors, you get your apothecaries and whatnot. And you saw the new divination card scarabs. Obviously, we're embracing that. We're not changing anything around that. But one thing that I do consider problematic, and we have made changes around, is stacked decks. So stacked decks, a lot of those uniques are coming from stacked decks. And so we have actually made some changes where the league rewards of various leagues, especially the ones that were quite high, so stuff like Tujin and a few other leagues, we have cut back on the amount of stacked decks they're giving. And that, okay, you're like, oh wow, nerf my fun stacked decks. To compensate for that, and what it has allowed us to do is we have actually multiplied the drop rates of your Mage Bloods, your Headhunters, etc. by 2.5 times.
What?
From world drops. And the intention there is that you are seeing more from actual drops instead of just from stacked deck spam. Now, we've kept stacked deck. It was certainly on the chopping block. It was...
I know you were gunning for Stack's deck, like you were all keen to get that thing out. But I think a lot of the reason was just the idea that one thing that kind of sucks a bit is that you're getting rewards for boss kills that people haven't been able to do yet.
Actually, not anymore. We have changed, which is true that which I don't know if people saw, but stacked decks cannot yield divination cards that would give items from exclusive bosses anymore.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing that sucked. Was that like you want the exclusive items to some extent to feel like okay, you proved that
That's
you
a
killed this guy by having
big. That's a
items.
big change from a
There are
drop
some
rate
corner cases
standpoint.
like the Gambler and
It's
the Void that
accessible.
we're doing some
It's
specific
great.
handling around, but in general, you should be seeing a lot less like random Star Forges appearing before anyone's even killed Uber Shaper kind of thing.
Right.
And also, obviously, you've still got the Voidborn keys that will yield it. You've got Valdo's maps, which will yield whatever people have chosen to give there, which is probably just a bunch of Mage Blood still. But yes, ultimately, we want to see a lot more of those drops come from actually killing monsters
I guess
and from farming divination cards the way we intended,
the card itself.
which is by actually farming the counter, as opposed to just mass stack deck farming on a mass level from
And then
specific
gambling
leagues.
it.
I hope that is received positively, of course, because I genuinely believe it is better. But let us know. We have a little bit of time to make some changes there if needed.
That'd be the thing. If Valdos are more common now,
I'll
that
let
should
people share
make
their
it
opinions on that one.
things
I mean,
like
to me,
Mage
it's
Blood
not-
more accessible.
I like the idea of boss drops coming from the bosses and not
2.5
just from
times.
random.
That's
attackers,
crazy.
but-
That's big.
Anyway, it might be controversial.
When do
We'll
we
see.
when do we get
Chat
to see
says
the
W, so a lot of
nerfs?
wins in chat, so it
We
seems
have
like
patch
we're
notes.
positive.
Yeah, patch notes
Positively
after this.
received.
I'll run through it all tonight and
Feel
do a
the sigh
video
of
on
sigh
it.
of relief, perhaps.
Might even do a live
So
stream.
I think everyone agrees that Affliction was like probably a
better.
bit
I work all night
crazy
tonight.
on the economic side of things and what was
Yep.
dropping and everything like that. And I must say, like, I played the most I've ever played this league. And I was getting to the point, like, in that 2 months phase where I was, like, doing things and creating builds and doing content that I just hadn't done before. And I think a lot of players had that same experience. And looking at the overall economy, I expected with how crazy the league was for things to be ruined. But because that term gets thrown around a lot when an economy is different, but the like end result felt really positive for most people. Where like, sure, some things like if you were trying to compete with the Giga Juices for the items that they were trying to buy, like their bows or whatever, then yeah, you were having a hard time. But for the most part, a lot of stuff was really accessible, and it felt like a really fun league in that regard. And that was actually the biggest, I think, contributor to why it was such a fun league for myself and I think many others. Do you have any thoughts on that and like that economic shift and other ways that that could be captured?
I mean, I love it. I love how the economy goes wild based on the content we add. It's always interesting to watch and whatnot. I wouldn't say I have any strong feelings one way or another, but I wouldn't say it's like I just want to note, it's not like our intention to, get away from that specifically or do anything one way or another. Like, we liked these things happening organically. We like the community figuring out how to get around that and utilize it. And yeah, I agree. It ended up being completely fine and honestly completely fun. Maybe not everyone agrees. Maybe there are a lot of people who are like, no, it was too hard and I felt like everyone else got ahead of me. We don't know too much about that, but I mean, the league's ending now anyway, so what happened happened. But yeah, I mean, I do agree. At least I played a lot. My friends played a lot. Like, we certainly got into it. A bunch of people here were playing a lot, and I've heard mostly only positivity coming from outside of the very early in the league where we had some misbalance. Like, the positivity for Affliction was very high. It's actually making me think like a little bit more about how we can find some way to make some of it core,
Alright,
but I
later
don't
on.
quite
Be back.
know how to do that just
No
yet.
worries,
I mean,
everyone.
I don't know if you saw one. I don't know if it was in there, but one of the keystones has the whole like when there's less than 50 monsters remaining, your map boss is empowered by wisps.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was in the live stream. I can't remember.
I
Too
saw
many
that, yeah.
too many things going on. But that's like kind of one way at least for now. But there's a lot of good monsters there. There's a lot of good like. I mean, the bosses, and the ascendancies and stuff are interesting. It's just it actually is one of the more complicated ones, especially when you consider the ascendancies and stuff to try and even think how to put that into core. Like that's a lot of character power. And you like I don't know if we will do that, but and ideally even just the magic finding kind of part of it with some regulation to some degree would be fun to add. But I mean, who's to say the current league isn't going to end up having? Sure, it won't be a magic finding one so much, but with all the crafting and whatnot, it's probably heavily going to, change the economy dynamically, and that will evolve over time as well. So,
I think it's really relieving to hear as a player that you guys are like, you liked what you saw with the outcome of that. Like, I think the technical side of how Affliction achieved that with like, things being laggy and all that sort of problem is not ideal, but the end result was something we really enjoyed. But there's this perception that you guys at GGG are sometimes a little bit grinchy about this stuff where you're like, we don't want you to have items and currency. So it's good to hear that.
I mean,
it's more positive on your end.
I am playing the game every league till the high end game and mostly to level 100, and I am farming all these things. Like I'm not sitting there going like, damn, I don't want all this currency. Like
what I don't like is when you like press Alt in the game and you get disconnected from
Yes.
the server or like
Yes.
random stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to technically break. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say one big shift, like just talking about playing the game here, and like I do want to understand like a lot of what all these QOL changes are, a lot of what we're doing, a lot of what more will be done. And I think a lot of what is coming in Necropolis League with respect to especially all the in-game changes is a resultant of our team playing the game and
I can
listening a
tell.
lot more.
You guys have been playing the game because you
like-
did these changes.
Yeah, we started. So I mean, the whole sextant thing is just like get me away from this. And I'm in game going like,
Oh, yeah,
okay, I've just
really.
allocated this tree. I'm like, damn, I don't want to play this anymore. And then I'm like, I don't want to have to respec all this, and then it might be wrong again. I want to experiment and try some stuff, and like that's where you then get the loadouts. And obviously I can respec, but I don't want to have to just go trading, which we know is a flawed system currently, and we've spoken about trading a lot and how we are going to improve it PoE 2 and then
still
looking
gonna
at
need
PoE 1
sulfite.
around that in the future. But like
They-
I'm sitting here trying to buy unmaking orbs, having the most
Did they
frustrating
redo
time
an ascendancy
ever
tree
just
at
because
all?
no one's replying to
No,
me and
they
all
didn't.
that. Like I know the
One of
pain.
us.
Well, not yet. Gotta look at
And
patch
then
notes, see what
I'm
they
like,
say.
okay, we need
I feel
some
like that
sort
would've
of
been, like,
like
a
Atlas
big
tree loadouts or
panel on
something
this
like that.
thing
Like we need to
they
find a
did.
way to have this so that I can play the end game the ways I want without feeling so
the
punished.
entire chat glad rework.
And this comes into another thing,
Yeah,
which is like,
they're
okay,
just
like
going
Wandering
wild.
Path. I want to play the end game my way, but if Wandering Path is quantitatively too strong, then I'm not playing it my way. I'm playing it the way that the meta tells me I have to, because it is too powerful. And so, there's things like that where that comes where why we've removed a number of the keystones and whatnot, is because if you feel like you have to do something. And so you could argue, okay, well, nerf the value. Well, now I don't want to do it at all. So what's the point in it existing? If the keystone is into that binary state of feeling like you have to do it versus not have to do it, get rid of it. That's generally how I feel about it, and add something cooler and better. And the new keystones might end up in the same ballpark. And you know what? Might remove them later and add new ones as well. That's just how it will be. But yeah, anyway, I don't want it to be that the loadouts are like everyone has tree A, everyone has tree B, everyone has tree C, because the keystones mean that you have to do that. If people want to do that, because that's like, metas are metas, you can't get around that. But if it's that feeling of I have to do X, that I want to try and get away from, and especially for multiple leagues in a row, like if it's okay for one league, you have fun, and then if you feel like you have to do something that isn't enjoyable, go away. I don't want it. Like it shouldn't exist.
You love to hear it. You love to hear it. But I have a follow-up question that's completely unrelated. What about the rucksack?
Look, you're lucky you got it for those 3 months or 4 months.
Damn it!
Oh no.
I just know ultimately. You might see it back one day, but
No,
like, you
just
know,
no.
I'm honestly surprised that Chris was even okay to even let you do that.
I don't think he was okay with it.
Really?
I think I snuck
What,
that.
you
one
snuck that one in without
Well, you weren't okay with it either. Like,
I wasn't okay.
we had a massive argument about it.
Oh no.
I assumed that Chris approved it.
He might have. I don't remember. But
So funny.
like anyway, the luxury of the leagues is we do get to try these things for 3 or 4 months, and the importance is when we do something that we are reluctant about or we are in disagreement about, is that we do reevaluate it at the end of that and decide are we keeping it or not. And it is a firm no on this one. And you know, like the good thing is we do, because we have these seasonal cycles, the leagues.
Yeah,
we
patch
do get
notes
to
are
try
gonna be
these things,
wild.
and we do get to do something that we're maybe not quite comfortable with,
yeah.
just to really test it. And in this case, yeah, nah, it's not. It's not staying in.
I mean, I have to respect a firm no, but what? Why? What? Why? How come?
Well, okay, why? Not to put him. I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
sorry.
but you know,
No,
I was
okay.
I was on one half of the argument.
Hang on.
to some-
So you're first of all.
Oh no, I don't want to keep it.
First of all, Mark ultimately gets to decide this, but at the same time, my feeling on this stuff is that I don't like it when you have a build choice that results in more inventory space, because that kind of thing like leads to sort of weird incentives that I don't really love. Like, you know, it's like
Sure, yeah.
if you have to, it's like if I have to change my build to get more inventory space, that just doesn't feel right to me. It's a little bit hard to explain exactly why that is, but like there's various things from games like that where
I do actually agree with that one. Having it be on a class is certainly not the right.
That was
answer.
weird.
I also just personally don't think. I think inventory space limitation is a good thing.
Right.
I think that pressure is good, and I don't have a personal problem with playing with it. Obviously, it's nice to always just have more and more and more and more. But I do think that pressure is interesting, and I do think it is important to have pressure on how much you can pick up and leave a map with. Especially after Affliction, I was leaving every map with a full inventory, going like, holy, there's more things I want to take and I can't, and literally there's stacks and stacks of currency on the ground I can't pick up. But I think that is healthy and good, and it makes you make the good decisions.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think this was actually about the space. The reason why everyone loved the rucksack was that it was a separate space that allowed it to be much easier to manage things like your map rolling currency and your scrolls and just that random shit that fills up and clutters your inventory that you constantly have to deal with when you're shifting stuff over to back and forth your stash. There's a real problem there, a quality of life problem that the rucksack inadvertently addressed, and that's why people loved it, I think.
Fair enough. There are some. Well, at least, okay, so if that is say the problem of rolling maps, for example, like, there are better solutions to that, I would say, which is, like, again, I hate talking about this because now everyone's going to want it, and it, like, makes it sound like it's certainly going to happen, and it isn't necessarily. But, like, surely a, like, inventory attached to your map device that you can open that, like, contains your fragments and whatnot.
I guess you can't put stuff in it and meet, like, from the map when you pick it up, I guess. Like, I guess
from the map, sure, but if they're just talking about, like, you know, the whole bringing a bunch in to roll all your maps and, like, I don't know. There's more to discuss, but I saw this one on the old quality of life bingo sheet that was there, and I have been thinking about trying to find ways to solve that one, and so I'm hoping that we can find some way to either mitigate or solve that one in the future. Again, no promises, but you know, we might come up with something.
Yeah, I can see there being another solution, and I'd be fine with that, because like to me, it's not the fact about getting them more inventory space; it's about solving that quality of life issue. So if there's another solution, I'm here for it.
There probably is. It's just whether or not we can do it, and whether or not we can come up with it in a reasonable time. It's all a resources game at the end of the day. So, look, I am keeping an eye on those bingo sheets. I am I'm tactically picking the ones so that the bingo can't be completed.
Keep making them bingo sheets.
Not actually, but one thing that is important with a lot of these quality of life, we are actually, especially with PoE2's development, we are looking at a lot of these things which have been hard nose and really reevaluating, and it's like,
I think PoE2 really has
cool.
like, but just because like as well, I think as well, just like watching like new player experience videos and things like that, and just like looking at all the stuff that people are doing, and like it's kind of it's really another shot at like looking at all that really core stuff again and thinking about it, and like we just don't often think about some of that stuff very often because it's been there for so long. And then, so yeah, just having a chance to like really reevaluate everything really then starts to make you think, well, why is PoE 1 even like this?
Mhm.
You know, like, and it makes ends up making those changes.
Like we on Path of Exile 2, obviously you have I maybe shouldn't spoil this, but I'm going to. We have on Path of Exile 2, we obviously have no more portal scrolls, and I'm not saying that we're doing that in PoE 1 just yet. However,
just yet,
I say just yet, maybe ever. But however, in PoE 1, what we are adding is, and it's come from the bingo sheet, is a bind key to just instantly open a
thank
portal
fucking Christ.
that you can bind, and you don't now have to open your inventory.
Portal key.
I think having to open your inventory during a boss fight or something is not. Look, with pausing, that's kind of more acceptable because you can now pause, use the portal, and you don't risk danger. But messing around
Now
with that in the midst of
everyone's
combat
like,
is not
oh,
something
log
that you
in,
should
log
really
in
have to be
now.
doing. And the changes to PoE 2 portals is what really made us
mouse button
reevaluate
died
that.
for
So,
this. It's
yes, in
acceptable.
324, we'll do the classic video and probably after this or next week or some with us actually showing how it works. There will be a bind for instantly opening a portal, assuming you have a portal scroll in your inventory.
Sick.
Now get rid of ID scrolls.
Yeah, love to hear it. All right. That's fantastic.
You can't win,
There's been another thing that's been mentioned a lot in chat, which is, do you have any brief comments on the state of some of the lesser used dependencies, like Gladiator, for example? Any potential reworks?
Exactly. I'll take auto dopamine. Thank
I
you.
certainly want to.
Auto dopamine
I always love
dispensers.
doing
Plug
that. And last time, obviously, with Chieftain, we missed the mark. But now during Affliction with the League meta, obviously Chieftain grew into fit a little bit with the Fulcrum and whatnot. So, you know, it's kind of interesting that in last live stream we discussed that one not really hitting where we want, and now it's got a lot more uses, and maybe this coming league it'll have a lot less uses. We'll see. It's quite fun how the league changes what people play. However, yes, ascendancy class balances are nice. Effectively, we just have to, again, look at what resources we have and decide how much we can do and where we want to target it. We have a big discussion towards the end of each league development and think, what are we going to do next? Look at the problems, look at what we want to do. And we have a list that's bigger than we can do. And often those things are on that
Chain
list,
hook
and we have
totems.
to weigh, like, are we going to do option A or option B? And sometimes balancing an ascendancy class is overall less gain for the players than something else we want to do. Like, if you would rather multiple Atlas trees and or a Gladiator rebalance, I would hope to think the majority of people are going to be picking the Atlas tree feature. Maybe not everyone, but again, it's better for the mass, and thus, like, that is what we do. So yeah, it is a resourcing issue at the end of the day. Like, you can only do so much with what you have, but we do a lot. Like, don't get me wrong. But yes, we would get there eventually. It will come up in one of the things, and it is something that we will commit to.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to wrap up Path of Exile 1 Q&A now. Thanks for the very long discussion session. I feel like we could chat about a lot of this stuff all day. Another thing I could talk about all day is Path of Exile 2. We're going to now be talking about Path of Exile 2, both the new reveals from today and some broader questions also.
I just want to know if the patch notes are out.
All right. Well, I got to head off, but I'll see you guys on the stream later tonight anyway.
All right, sounds good.
All
Thanks
right.
for letting us chill in here. See you.
No worries. See you.
Yep.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. I'll see you guys later tonight. We're going to do a live stream tonight for patch notes. And yeah, we'll go through pretty much anything and everything everyone wants to discuss. And we'll talk through it in detail. And the curation video will be out later this afternoon as well when I get home. I've just got to read through the patch notes today in the middle of while I'm doing a few other things. And then, yeah, I've already got the list of builds ready to roll out.